Okay. OBS is telling me that you can hear me now. Just turn myself up a tiny bit. There we go. That's what I was at before. So for some very odd reason, my original OBS, I have it open in my sources for some strange reason. My microphone source on OBS is simply not working. And yet, if I make a new audio input capture with my microphone, that one works. I don't know why. Okay, and I can't actually close and reopen OBS, which usually fixes these issues, because that would end my stream instantly. Okay, I am very sorry about that. After this video, I will go back and edit this stream so that you don't have to deal with the 5 minutes of silence. Well, anyway, after that brief moment of technical issues... Hey, I have technical issues now. Am I a real VTuber? I just had my first set of technical issues, guys. My technical issues virginity is now gone. Wait until it starts not detecting your microphone. Yeah. You don't need to edit, that kills chat. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Although, I mean, technically I have the chat right on screen right now, so it's not a huge issue, I don't think. That is one of the main reasons why I have it on my screen. Had this tab in the background and just got hit by a British... Shut up. But yes. Tonight we are playing some Warhammer 40,000 Mechanicus. This is a game that I consider to be extremely good and extremely well written, but unfortunately, because of its nature, I have a great inability to play it off stream. I did a few missions off stream. Anybody who's watched the previous VOD or stream knows that I ended basically after the first 2 missions. I have now done about 3 extra missions to get my tech priests leveled up and a bit more into the game. You didn't miss a huge amount, but yeah, I love this game. I really love this game. It's just fantastic. I got a VOD with 30 minutes silence get on my level. Yeah, I remember listening to one of your VODs, Zenlar, and you had Pipkun on, and I could hear you could hear Pipkun, but we couldn't. Bring in Barakaiju Man for some banter. He's in the waiting room. Okay, I don't mind. Like, this is a Guerrilla stream. This is a chill stream. I don't really I have no expectations of this, really. Hello, Zenlar. How are you?
Fine, I just gotta mute the stream before I go nuts. Okay. You had to come in for the audio issues, and I forgot to bounce out of the waiting room once you got it resolved.
That's fine. If you want to stick around, that's okay.
Yeah, this is kind of like a second home away from home.
Well, that's why I made the place, so that's good for me to hear. Been up to much today?
Not particularly. Pippa impromptu did a marathon with back-to-back streams, so that was kind of fun.
Yes, she is like that.
Retarded.
Anyway, the last mission that I did, I thought was a good place to stop, because previously I was only getting these 2 as deployment options, but now it seems like the entire game is opened up a fair bit. We're at 13% Necron Awakening. When that hits 100%, I believe the game ends. But there's a lot to do in the meantime. Haven't done too much.
Just throw some pylons at them. That usually solves the problem.
That's the Necrons that create the pylons.
Ah, shit, you're right.
Come on, even I know my Warhammer 40k lore, and all the games that I've played is basically this and Battlefleet Gothic 2.
Okay, fun Warhammer tangent. I first discovered them back in the day by seeing like a little tiny Start Your Army kit, and it was Necrons. I think it was like 3rd edition in my local comic shop, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But then I actually look into the lore. It's like, they're kind of boring.
Well, that was 3rd edition. As far as I know, maybe it was 5th edition. I'm not sure when they actually got really good. Like, I like the Necrons in all the modern lore that I've seen about them. And then I haven't actually read The Infinite and the Divine, but I've heard that Trazyn the Infinite is one of the best characters in all of 40k. So I'm definitely interested in that.
Unfortunately, he's also one of the most memed and beaten into the ground.
Yeah, true. I did get that impression a bit. Early morning Proctor, yeah. If anybody is curious as to why on earth I'm streaming at this time, it is because yesterday I stayed up pretty much all night doing stuff on Discord and various other places, and then just as I was about to go to bed at around 7 a.m, I went, like, my mother gets up at around 7 a.m, and she'd been listening to BBC News, and we started talking about Israel and Palestine, and we had about a 30-minute debate about the situation in Gaza. And after that, I was so wide awake again that I felt, no, I can't get back to bed. It would be pointless. I would just be lying in bed thinking about politics for 2 hours. So I just came back out and I played, you know, games or wrote stuff and various different things and argued with people on Discord for until about 1 p.m. and that's when I actually went back to sleep.
Only 30 minutes and knives didn't come out? Wow, I'm impressed.
I mean, I don't mean we had an argument. We had a debate. We do have legitimate and frequent debates. That's the thing, is that I was taught to the classic style of debate. My mother was in literal debate club when she was in school over 60 years ago at this point. But yeah, so she's very capable of holding her own in any kind of conversation. We weren't even disagreeing, really. We were just kind of lamenting the situation and how stupid and annoying everything was. It wasn't like a case of, oh no, you must support Israel, otherwise you're an evil, disgusting fascist, or, oh no, you must take in 10,000 Gazan refugees, otherwise you are also an evil, disgusting fascist. No, we actually do have legitimate, informed and interesting debates from what we hear on the news and various different sources.
And at the end of the day, it's your guys' fault anyway, so...
Don't remind me, please. I disavow all associations with the British Empire unless it can get me clout.
And that's the rub.
Sea hours. Yeah, I suppose this goes to show how many people are from, like, the Philippines and so on in my Discord, because I've still got 5 CCV. I expected to be streaming to like 2 people at most. But anyway, let's actually play the damn game. No, that's not just my tech. These are more advanced missions when I say normal, whereas these ones... Oh, that's a hard one. The Skitari have located the sarcophagus of Lord Ekropis. I will never get over that name. Prime Hermeticon Captrix. Request
all the other dynasties are sniggering behind its back.
Yeah, exactly. This is why this tomb has not been awakened until this point. Now, I think we will start off with an easy mission. I also like this character quite a lot, Kepra. Blackstone, Skitari Vanguard, Cognition Gauge, Map Size. Yeah, we unlocked quite a few. I have not seen the Immortals before. Yeah, I've seen the Flayed ones. So yeah, let's see what this is like. A unit of Skitari escorting a topographical surveying device has become trapped in the tomb of Argolek. Subdomina Kepra has requested a cohort reach the unit and save the Oculus Topographis. We are definitely going to be taking a fair number of useful troops here. Skitari range will reveal enemy statistics when dealing damage 2.7. Let's just go Vanguard. Let's go full Vanguard. Got plenty of canticles active. Let's go. I really enjoy the writing of this game because all the characters, it's very different. One of the things that I find very annoying about science fiction is that very few writers are able to grasp the concept of characters who live in a world where, for example, lifespans are vastly superior or cybernetics are commonplace. And often they just go the very generic route of, oh, it's like modern day, but worse based on my own political opinions. Whereas I find the writing in games like this and Warhammer 40k in particular, you get an idea of a culture that is literally 40,000 years separate from the modern day.
Well, the universe of 40k is pretty much a blank slate. It's really hard to fuck up.
I do agree, but the conventions that they have are very well defined overall.
Yeah, but the thing is, with the entire storyline, you can remove the numbers of the year in any like 30 or 40k storyline, and it's like, where does this fit? Who knows? The records themselves are a unreliable narrator, and that's built into the setting.
Yeah, and I actually like that because it's almost like Japanese canon.
Oh god, it is.
Yeah. It's like one of the most fun ways of trolling any kind of Western Gundam franchise Discord or community is going to them and asking, so which is canon? Is it the Zeta movies or the Zeta series? And if so, how does that affect Double Zeta?
Can we just not talk about the earlier Tomino stuff other than original?
I don't like Zeta at all. I much prefer Double Zeta, honestly.
Double Zeta almost makes me want to give Victory Gundam a pass. I said almost, not definitely. Victory Gundam is tied with AGE for worst.
You can just call it Age. I don't know anyone who calls it AGE.
I've heard both ways, and I'm not really
Okay.
particularly married to either because it just sucks.
Right, this is what difficulty. This was a normal mission. I'm trying to decide. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. It's the same both ways. I'll take more. I think I'll take more events than the glyph things. I don't quite like the glyphs because they're a bit. Oh, hello. I really it's funny. I really hated this character before I started playing his missions, and then his missions were like, you have to infiltrate a Necron tomb in order to spread sacred incense over it to purify it for the machine god, and then afterwards he comes to you and says, I don't think that's enough. You need to go in there and install giant speakers throughout the complex that will broadcast the sayings of the Mechanicus into the deeper parts of the tomb. And I'm just like, you know what? I can actually get behind this level of religious fanaticism. I approve of this.
My favorite lore with Mechanicus has always been its crossover with the Tau, because the Tau is always kind of like, why, like they talk about the guardsmen, and it's like, oh yeah, we have Titans. It's like, there is no way a sane race would waste that much resources, and why is that mountain coming towards us? Oh, the monkeys were right. Oh shit.
Yeah, I think one of my fun, again, when I talk about writing in 40k, I like the Tau because they're able to accurately portray an outsider's viewpoint, and I really like how their reaction to the insanity of the rest of the 40k universe is so relatable. And the kind of culture shock they experience when they manage to destroy or bring down I think it's a Space Marine battle barge, and find that it is actually dozens of times older than their entire civilization.
Well, the funny thing with the Tau, yeah, it's like you say, the Tau is a weird point of reference in 40k because they are a quote-unquote legitimate species, because all the other species cheated. If you look at the Eldar, they nicked off with the old one technology. If you look at humans, the Emperor has some deals with maybe the Chaos Gods. Who knows? But effectively, it was like everybody cheated to get where they're at, but Tau are the only ones who are like, no, we're going to legitimately just progress.
By my fleets shall the light of the Necron
Until they got their own god because of humanity, which is funny.
Yeah, I know, that's another thing that I find absolutely hilarious.
extinct in totality.
It's like, we don't believe in this magic voodoo bullshit. Yeah, but one of the most psychically attuned species does, and you're getting a god whether you like it or not.
Oh great, that was a bad idea, but yeah, that was a very bad idea. Oh well.
I was kind of worried about being behind Discord, but they're talking about WoW.
Well, What, World of Warcraft? What the hell are they talking about World of Warcraft for?
I have no fucking idea. I haven't played that there since Warlords of Draenor.
The beacon trap. Forsake for the mission. Do not search for more beacons. The data they contain might not be worth holding up the mission. You know what? In for a penny, in for a pound. Oh, just cognition points. That's not bad. I'll take it. Oh, we have to run straight for the tomb because we're already creeping up on... Yeah, this will be extra Necrons in battle. Wonderful. Chamber ahead is covered in dust and debris, which clearly show the tracks of the Oculus Topographis. It is clear it went this way, and the trail it left could be followed by the cohort to reach its location as quickly as possible. The cohort heads rapidly in the direction of the Oculus Topographis. The outpace, as they do so, the outpace any attempt to flank or ambush them. Excellent, that's good. That's what I needed. That's what I needed because we need to rush through this mission after that. That's slight blunder, although it did give me more lore, so I don't care.
I'm just wondering if the rewards are static per choice, or is there some RNG
I've
to them?
save scummed the glyph a couple of times. I think that it's static because I actually don't like the glyph symbol because it's just... I don't like just complete random chance. Hey, pick this option. You have no idea what it does. There's no way to tell or anything like that.
Yeah, I hate those too.
Which only shows their inferior steps in technological advancement. This guy's in for a very rude awakening. Not now, Vitex. Even the Magos is getting tired of him.
Oh, another thing I like about the Mechanicus and stuff, given the psychic magic bullshit of the universe and stuff, it's kind of funny because on some level you know that the human tech is powered by legitimate belief because that's just how the universe works.
Yeah.
Yeah, humans are just like pink orcs, effectively. Weaker pink orcs. I'm not wrong.
No, you're not wrong. I find it kind of sad because the orcs are pretty interesting, but they're just held back by... It's the same with the Tyranids. I feel like the Tyranids have a lot of potential, but they're held back by the fact there's literally no characters for the Tyranids. They purely exist to eat everything and destroy everything.
Well, the orcs do have characters, but the thing is, Game Workshop parked Graskell in the middle of nowhere doing nothing. And they sent Helbrecht after him and doing nothing.
Oh yeah, they have initiative. That's going to be fun. Ow.
I'm sad to admit I've never read any of the books or played any of the games. All my Warhammer 40k lore comes from TTS and Remlays.
TTS, sorry?
If the Emperor had text-to-speech device.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, I've watched a little bit of that, but not a huge amount.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The fandom beats jokes into the ground, so just don't read the comments and you'll be fine.
Okay.
And Remlays is the guy who runs 40k theories.
Nice. Can I run this guy over here? Oh, it goes somewhere... Oh, I can't even see yet. That's interesting. Probably actually should not have done that because I just realized I put him out of the range of using his healing claw. We need cognition points desperately. I want to take some of these things out. Go.
Don't worry, Zilla, that's already more than the average 40k fan. The average 40k fan is fucking Dawn of War.
Yeah, I should play Dawn of War. I liked Dawn of War from what I've seen of it.
I used to be all about RTSs in high school and early university, but I've just never been able to get back into them. My jam has always been turn-based strategy, mostly the Heroes, the Might and Magic series.
I can't really blame you. Yes, but 1 physical armor plus 1 energy armor. I'm debating trying to use that. I will just shoot this thing.
I resemble that down at work, Mark.
I mean, that's the problem. A lot of the reason why I never really got into 40k was the sheer amount of stuff in it. And it's very overwhelming. Oh, great.
No, I can understand that, and especially since there's no overall linear storyline, you have a lot of starting points that you can pick.
Oh, damn, I can't actually reach that. And I don't even have cognition points for it. That's very annoying. I'll just hide back here. All I can really do.
Yeah, just hide behind cover. Necrons don't have object permanence.
Oh dear. Oh, that's actually a lot less damage than I thought. I guess I low-rolled that. And leave him alone! At least I have all my troops with power axes, so they will actually be able to do something about this. Unless they don't have cognition points, but they don't. Yeah, I know. Damn, no co- God damn it.
Hack on chat. That's why I mostly stick to pre-heresy stuff. Yeah, but enjoy your pre-heresy for as long as you can right now, because they're bringing back all the fire marks for Heresy Mark II.
Yeah, I literally can't wait. I have the canticle, don't I? So, whack. Come on, pick it out. Nope. Of course, low rolled.
I didn't exactly catch that. It was like a one-time buff kind of thing.
Yeah, it gives, I think it gives all my troops 3 cognition points. Which, given the only source of cognition points in the mission cat is right here.
Okay. Do they stack?
Yeah, I believe they do.
Yeah,
Up to a certain level. Oh, I can only deploy 1 Skitari, okay. I need all the firepower I can get right now. You joking? Give me that. This guy actually needs to get back over the other side. I made a big mistake trying to split everybody up. Yeah, that's less damage than I thought. I think this guy is actually has an area of effect attack. What's more of a threat to me right now? I really do think I should get this thing out of my hair right now. Go on, there we go.
I just had a thought that's exceptional with a capital R.
Yes?
Okay, so Microsoft is buying Blizzard, Activision Blizzard.
Yes?
What if Microsoft were to buy Games Workshop?
I think that would be awful and terrible, and I hope it never happens.
Because you have to remember, the Warcraft, it's kind of funny to tie it back into the Discord chat right now. The Warcraft franchise was, quote unquote, heavily influenced by Warhammer.
I can believe that.
And StarCraft is just stolen wholesale.
I can definitely believe that.
The Blizzard fanboys, the 2 that remain, will him and Ha, is like, no, it's like, it's original stuff. It's like Tolkien and whatnot. It's like, motherfucker, that argument died a long time ago.
Yeah,
just admit it.
You can't make that excuse at all. That's nonsense.
Yeah. It's not to say we didn't get good things out of it, like, you know, original StarCraft and original Warcraft, before they ran those franchises into the ground, along with everything else. We're fine.
Yeah, I remember playing the original StarCraft. I've never played StarCraft 2.
I only played the first, the Terran initial release, and at that point I was like, nah, I'm done.
I can respect that. I watched several reviews of like the storyline for StarCraft 2, and I was like, I'm out when they start mentioning the ancient star gods. It's just so generic.
I actually watched, you know, like, I just wanted to see how stupid it would get, and I did watch commentary less playthroughs for the other two expansions, and it got monumentally stupid.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of depressing, really. You see so much
I
potential. You go on, sorry.
Yeah, like, well, I was just gonna say it was wasted potential, and they ruined Kerrigan. That just pissed me off. Like what they did with Kerrigan, towards the end of that series is kind of like what they did with Jill in the Resident Evil 3 remake. It's just like, no, that's not the character. What are you doing? Stop it.
Nice. I like these criticals.
Haka in chat, wasn't StarCraft rejected 40K game prototype? They didn't bother change beyond making legally this thing. No, there was never a agreement between Games Workshop or Blizzard for anything. That's all bunk and stuff. Is they literally just went copy and pasted. Now the legitimate quote unquote conspiracy theory, which was actually the case, was Game Workshop was the original UK distributor for first edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Ow.
And eventually at a certain point, Games Workshop went, you know what, we can do this, and that's how Warhammer was born.
Sounds about right, honestly.
Yeah, so Games Workshop stole D&D, and then Blizzard stole Warhammer. So it's all snake eating its own tail at this point.
I know, like if I look at the Zerg and I read the backstory of the Zerg, and they're literally just the Tyranids.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, they have stuff like with the Xel'Naga grafted onto them awkwardly, but they're still just the Tyranids. They go around, they hate all life, they devour planets, they add your biological and technological distinctiveness to their own. You could do so much with it, but no. And like the Protoss are very blatantly the Eldar. I think at one point, Zeratul even talks as if he is an Eldar. Like canonically, the Protoss can live for hundreds of years, but at one point he says something like, "I've watched the birth of negative suns across hundreds of dimensions" or something, acting as if he's this like thousands and thousands of years old character. And I'm like, no, you just wrote this guy as if he was one of the Eldar from 40k. Stop pretending. Just give him pointy ears already.
Yeah, so the Protoss were the Elder, but the thing is I hate about StarCraft 2 is, well, they kind of hinted this in the original StarCraft, was that the Xel'Naga are the old ones from 40k.
Well, yeah, and you see them in StarCraft 2, and they are literally just the old ones. No, actually, they're the Catan, because they're the star gods, pretty much.
Well, yeah. Well, they're kind of like a combination of the old ones and the Catan.
Yes, and it's very much an awkward kind of OC donut steel.
Yeah.
God damn it, this guy is in melee.
Shit, I'm still getting over the Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond Warhammer crossover they had a little while back, and there's the Doctor Who crossover coming up next.
What?
Okay, so Magic the Gathering, their marketing team got in their head to increase market share and to drag in new pay pigs is to do IP crossovers.
Yes.
It's literally what you think it is.
That is so embarrassing.
Yep, you can build a Space Marine deck now.
I hate all of these franchises like this. It's just...
No, let me go on this little tangent. Okay, so
go ahead.
one of the one of the universes beyond IPs they had was going to be Harry Potter, but the licensing agreement fell through. So what they did is they filed off the serial numbers and did what this entire conversation has been up so far is they filed off the serial numbers, and Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast made Strixhaven, which was the totally not Harry Potter plane in Magic the Gathering. Now, no, here's the kicker though. They also made it a Dungeons and Dragons campaign module.
What?
And Pippa actually herself was talking about this from her D&D talk. She was talking about Strixhaven, and I'm like, wait a second. And then I actually looked it up, and I was like, oh, they actually folded the Strixhaven IP as an IP into Dungeons and Dragons as well.
Oh, that's so embarrassing. I thought this was a thing. What? Oh, I'm sorry. That was very stupid of me. No, there's nothing else.
I don't want to think about Logan Paul and Post Malone crossovers. That guy. No.
How long does this acid last? That's really annoying.
It lasts forever.
Oh, I completely forgot that would happen. Wait, he actually gets a turn first, so...
Okay, Discord chat's transitioned over to Mint Castella, which I'm okay with.
The blessed by the architect.
I like my fat stoner doggo.
Yeah, but she was doing like live 3D, no, what's it called? Virtual 3D or something, you know, where she has the 3D model that can go around 3D space and everything.
Yeah, pretty much VR chat.
Yeah, VR chat, and she found a bong somewhere, and she was like, "Oh yeah, let me just play my fat rip sound there," and I'm like, "Yeah, I can believe this." I'm sorry, Skitari, you were actually you will survive that good. Wait, there's more scarabs there. Oh dear, I completely missed those. Please go away. Oh, nice. Kind of annoys me that these Skitari are actually outfitted with weapons that are better than anything my tech priests can use at the moment.
Many such cases.
Just move close to that, so if a Necron warrior pops out of there, I can just immediately start attacking him with my charged power axe. I have to move this guy around here. One thing I don't like about this game is that it's quite bad at telling you where your units can move and where they can't. Like, all of this terrain, I could really use this kind of... No, this doesn't... This kind of helps, like, it illuminates things like that, those boulders and so on, but I could... Wait, I can do it. I can't just press space and do it. I forget. I'm kind of an idiot. I'm terrible because I learned how to play RTS games when I was a child, so my instincts for things like macro and hotkeys are very... not particularly good.
I don't know. I played Protoss for the entire time growing up, so all it was just turtle down behind photon cannons until I'd make my carriers, make my carriers, and then wipe out the map.
Yeah. I remember playing this. It astonishes me, like the StarCraft Remastered Edition doesn't seem to have done anything for the AI at all. I remember playing the original game and it just seemed to be exactly the same as when I played it back when I was a child.
Well, you have to remember about the StarCraft, Warcraft, and Diablo remasters is that those got farmed out to the lowest bids.
Oh great, more Necrons, wonderful. At least they're just generic Necron, not warriors. Elect one condition point. Oh nice, 15 critical one. Ah, so that's how that works. +1 damage, 4 + 3, 1 shift. Yeah, I'll give that to you. I don't know how long that lasts though, which is annoying. I'm pretty sure.
To answer Board's question, I mostly play custom maps.
Custom maps on what? Ow.
Warcraft 3 and StarCraft. I mostly just play the tower defense games and
okay.
and Aeon of Strife clones before they became Dota.
Still not dead. That's annoying. Low roll, low roll, low roll. Oh, that wasn't a low roll at all.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, a couple of Magic the Gathering things were made for D&D. You have to remember that Wizards of the Coast owns both the D&D and Magic IPs, and which in turn are owned by Daddy Hasbro.
Damn it. Good one. Get rid of this thing, please. Yes. Just get back.
Yeah, custom maps were better in the long term, because and also like the custom maps of Warcraft 3 and StarCraft birthed like the whole MOBA like industry. And Blizzard lost out on that all that capital, and they've been ass mad ever since. No, like, were you like, did you pay attention a few years back when they locked down the end user license agreement for custom maps on the StarCraft 2 engine, and that anything you make becomes their property?
Oh yeah, they don't want to miss out on more custom maps becoming their own massive franchises. I don't necessarily blame them, but it's still pretty damn scummy.
Yeah, it's like closing the door after the horse is left. It's like you're just embarrassing yourself at that point.
It's so irritating. The lack of points is just really getting on my plums. There's basically nothing I can do. I brought this Volkite Blaster, which is great damage, but it needs 3 cognition points to fire, so it would take something like 8 turns for me to charge it back up again. I'll just... Nah, actually, honestly, I should run towards these guys. The only thing that this Magos can contribute right now is potentially using his Curatio Claw. At least I have the Skitari available. Charge Machine Spirit. Come on. No, not taking it down in one hit. That's annoying. And run back into cover.
And me, Bor, and that guy are just having a bashing wizards talk right now.
Damn.
But I'm just pissed because since like a couple of the Magic sets were Dungeons and Dragons themed Magic the Gathering sets, and I did not care for them when they came out. And it's kind of funny because the last Dungeons and Dragons crossover was effectively a preview for Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, have you played Baldur's Gate 3?
I do not like CRPGs. I never have. I've tried to get into them over the years. I tried to give the original Baldur's Gate a chance. I tried to give the original Planescape a chance. I really did, but I just do not jive for those kind of RPGs.
That's okay. I really do enjoy Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2. I've had mixed reports about Baldur's Gate 3. I kind of got turned off Baldur's Gate 3 immensely when one of the first major bits of news about it was that maybe I've got it completely wrong. Is Baldur's Gate 3 the one that had the speedrun to have sex with a bear?
Yes, one of the romantic plot lines you can have is with the druid, and the druid does do the deed in the bear form. I actually have no problem with this because I find it funny, because I believe that was the original intention. It was funny. Haha. You're doing it with a bear. Very D&D. No, seriously, it strikes me as like original D&D. It's just like all the stupid shit you can do. It's like, yeah, of course you can do this.
Yeah, I understand this. It's just that I remember the original Baldur's Gate games being... It's funny, the first Baldur's Gate game was very tongue-in-cheek a lot of the time, but BG2 and its expansion were a lot more serious, and I preferred those games.
I would agree, but I have one counterpoint, and that name is Minsk and Boo.
Yeah, that's true. But even so, they kind of had like a giant space hamster is actually a thing in the D&D universe. So,
I
and
know, it's
again,
great.
and again, Minsk. I don't mind Minsk because the thing that I have a real problem with when it comes to modern storytelling is that in the modern times, or with a bad writer, they would take somebody like Minsk and they would say, yeah, this guy's brain damage that he has, it's actually the fact that he is a secret psionic and he's tapping into the starborn ones or something, and his mysterious rambling is actually hints of a far greater and more advanced plot line, and it's a really complicated subtext, and you need to have a very high IQ to understand it. Whereas in Baldur's Gate, it's just like, yeah, this guy has had too many knocks to the head, he rambles on about silly things that don't really mean very much, don't think about it too hard and find it funny.
And my favorite story of Minsk is actually behind the scenes, because Minsk is voiced by Jim Cummings, and I actually watched the panel. I went to a panel with him one time, and he said there was in the Q&A panel, a kid asked him, like, "So, how about your video game roles?" And he had to bite back his tongue about saying how shit the pay is for video game voice acting.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
And I was just like, man, I was so close to hearing Jim Cummings curse, because this was literally like not even a month after his Me Too accusations. He got Me Too, but that there shit got locked down pretty quick and stuff. But he was still pissed about it, and I went to a panel with him just after that there, and you could tell he was not in a good mood.
I don't blame voice actors for feeling like that. They do get the absolute lowest level of respect in the industry.
Well, to be fair, like, the current crop does deserve it, but the old guard, like Jim Cummings, no.
I think there's a massive... I kind of... do you ever watch The Critical Drinker?
I have heard of him, so go on.
Yeah, he really, I quite like watching his videos because he's an author himself. I've never read anything that he has written, but I think from his perspective, actually, let me just make it a tiny bit larger, there we go. But I do enjoy his commentary on the industry. But one of the things that he's often on a podcast with other critics of Hollywood and so forth, and they often seem to struggle with the idea that Hollywood is so terrible. Like, they acknowledge that it's terrible, but they don't seem to really understand why. And I really think that in the modern era, we've gotten to a point where going into an industry for writing, going into an industry for screenplay and so forth, is just a bad way to go, because it's so corrupt, it's so nepotistic, and it's so ideologically infiltrated that you're never going to get anything by your merits. You're just going to have to compromise on your artistic vision for the sake of the nonsense that is being peddled by the higher ups.
Well, I know this, and you know this, but to their defense, they're the old guard, and it's almost the point of the frog with the slow boiling pot kind of thing.
That's true. But it's funny because I talked to my friend Alex about this once, that there was a stream they did where they were lamenting the decay of special effects and SFX and so on in and also even art, how sterile and bland and horrible corporate art has become. And I kind of joked to my friend Alex, these people have never heard of hentai. They don't understand. All the good artists these days are doing furry porn or hentai.
Well, actually, funny you mentioned that. Just to tie it back to my earlier conversation about Wizards and Hasbro, they just recently knocked off one of their product lines, which was kind of a big deal. And the
When you
current
say knocked
speculation
off, do you mean ended?
Yeah, so Magic the Gathering had 3 core lines. They had booster boxes, set boxes, and collector boxes. They're keeping the collector boxes, but they're merging the set boxes and draft boxes into, I forget what they're calling it now, but either way. They're reducing the core products down to 2, but they're jacking up the price. But here's what I was going to get at, is that going to be crunching down on the creative and development side of it too. So a lot of the writing and art and stuff, you know, they're going to offload that there to AI techniques.
Oh yeah.
And the good thing about AI is that AI doesn't have, well, okay, I have to say this. Hasbro and Wizards are very paused. So if you have so much as a little blemish on your Twitter feed, you immediately lose any future contracts you have with them. So them transitioning over to AI art and stuff would just, you know, be great for them because they don't have to pay anyone, and they don't have to deal with the optics.
I agree.
Which I find hilarious.
And it's very depressing. It's very depressing. Like, Maniacal Foreigner in chat says, the amount of times I find a good artist and it turns out the majority of their work is very specific and bizarre fetish. Yeah. And why wouldn't you? Like, I don't agree with porn or anything like that on moral grounds, but again, from an economic standpoint, why on earth, if you were skilled at that kind of thing, would you ever go to a mainstream industry where you are being openly held in contempt and paid as little as physically possible and asked to work the worst hours imaginable in any industry that has you sit behind a desk? And yet you can go on Twitter, you can open your commissions and say, hey, I'll draw weird fetish crap for the character you want, and I'm charging you $500 for a 10-second animation loop or whatever it is. I don't know what their pricings are. And people will pay. And every single one of those artists that I have ever seen scrolling past on my Twitter feed or anything like that, they're all sold out. Like, I'm sure there's a waiting list for their commissions. It's just capitalism in action.
Oh, I know. If I ever had kids and they want to be an artist, I'd be like, look, you're going to be doing porn if you want to make money. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I knew a guy who he never said explicitly what kind of stuff he did, but he said quite, you know, in general terms, yeah, I draw weird fetish stuff sometimes, and even for the least explicit stuff that I draw, I still get paid 5 or 6 times the amount for my regular character commissions.
Well, I'm not embarrassed to say this. One of my greatest heroes of all time is Doug Winger.
I am afraid I don't know who that is.
Okay, so Doug Winger was he passed away a long time ago, but he was a mechanical engineer slash electrical engineer. He did a lot of military industrial complex work, and he worked for NASA a bit too and stuff, and he made bank. But here's the kicker: he was also an artist. You want to guess what kind of artist?
The lewd kind.
He was a furry artist.
Oh no!
No, and he was the pioneer for most of the various. He was literally the furry pioneer for all the very specific fetishes that exist today.
Oh no!
But here's the kicker: he didn't care for any of that there. He only did that because people paid.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've known artists that have said, you know, I hate the kind of stuff that people ask me to draw, but I draw it anyway because, damn, does it make me money?
Exactly. It was just like, hey, you want that 50-foot squirrel girl with a huge ass horse cock? Sure, just pay up.
It worries me, the kind of. I should look it up. The trouble is, it's almost impossible to search for any of the psychological stuff without getting your feed absolutely spammed with the more direct stuff, shall we say. But it reminds me of the Mouse Utopia experiments. That's where in an isolated area, these mice all just became sexual deviants with nothing else to do. And I feel like that's the same with people today, is that this is the one thing that I will give people like Kinsey and so on, is that I do believe that, was it Alfred Kinsey? I forget, he was a psychologist who said, who had the Kinsey scale of sexuality. I think he actually was on to something in terms of grading people's sexual leanings, because and not in a but I think what he illuminated was the fact that in the kind of very unnatural way that people, especially in cities, live, that the natural way of their sexuality has just broken down to such an extent that you can legitimately say, yeah, I do like 50-foot squirrels with horse cocks, but I'm definitely straight. Because how do you even measure that in a natural setting? It's so far outside the standard human experience. This is a fun tangent to go on.
Actually, one little tangent before I forget. I know you just got into Twitter. What I recommend, I don't look at my feed at all. What I do is I find a few accounts I like, and I make individual lists. Like I have a news feed, I have like a Pippa feed, I have like a Pippa Friends feed, I have like a political feed. Like I have different feeds based on the sources.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good idea. Do you mean like on Twitter itself, or like do you open a notepad and keep track of this stuff?
No, there is a function. It's literally called list.
Oh yes, I see it. Yeah, I see it on my Twitter feed.
Yeah, so all you have to do is just make a list and then populate it with whatever accounts you like.
Oh, is this how ban lists work as well?
I don't think so.
Okay, okay.
I'm not entirely sure, but I do like the list function because it effectively is the only way you can curate a feed without actually making just puppet accounts to do the same thing. You may as well just do it on your main account.
Apparently Tenma just got a bunch of her emotes removed from Twitch as well. Based on a review of its content, we have removed your emote Tenma Doubt from Twitch. And also Tenma Fac and Tenma Fatocat. Disallowed content, imagery of sexual content or nudity, emotes which contain sexualized torsos or bodily fluids, animated images of buttocks.
Oh, jambalaya, furries work in the IT industry and quietly make a bunch of money to fund their fetish.
Absolutely.
I've had this conversation more than once. You do not you don't do what you like as your job. You do a job to make money to pay for what you like.
Yeah. That's the tragedy, I think, that I know so many people in my life who have taken on careers that they very obviously do not like and do not enjoy, and yet they say, look, I struggle through my 8-hour work day, or 9-hour or 10-hour or whatever the hell else my boss demands that I do, to just go to the bar every night afterwards, well, on Friday, and just piss the weekend away. And I'm like, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah, it's to each their own, but you have to figure out what works for you, kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that a lot of the people, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, I grew up with an awful lot of Americans who were sent to college afterwards, after high school. They went straight from high school into college, and every single one of them was told by their, is it careers counselor or something like that? And they these were fairly intelligent people, and people that I enjoyed hanging out with, that were good writers, that were sometimes good artists, and that they were all told, and they all took this on as a kind of creed or a gospel, that if they did not go into college and got, say, a job as a programmer or as something else, then they would be a failure in life. And I would try and talk to them and say, no, the practical trades are screaming for people to go into them. All these other trades and so on guarantee you essentially a starting salary of like 70k if you go through 5 years of training for it. You won't have to pay, say, several $100,000 in college fees and expenses for it. You can just get practical stuff like this. And they would all say, no, I believe my guidance counselor or whatever. I've got to do this. My parents tell me I have to do this. I have no choice. And if I look back at them 2 or 3 years later, most of them are just broken, and they've burnt out, and they're barely getting by. They might even still have minimum wage jobs because they went into college to study for something they didn't want, and they dropped out after like a year and a half.
I'm rather thankful that I never got any guidance from either counselors and my parents. I was effectively free ranged, and I pretty much had to like deal with my own kind of thing and figure out myself. But thankfully, any pluses and minuses were of my own to make.
Yeah, Board says you're either working for someone else's dream or your own dreams, and that's a pretty good way to sum it up. Always work for your dream.
To play devil's advocate on that thought, I am perfectly fine working for a company until the end of my days.
Yeah, but I'm sure from what you've said about your geology work is that it sounds honestly fairly exciting and fairly interesting. You're never going to be sat. Well, I don't know if this is the thing, but I don't know how many days you spend sitting at a desk just blandly making data entry.
Well, the problem is that was the case for some of it and stuff. But in the in an ideal situation, my position would be varied. Unfortunately, my previous employment, they compartmentalized a lot of the work towards the end.
Yeah, yeah, and like, what kind of work in geology really attracts you? If you had to like decide for yourself, if you had the luxury of saying, I want to do this kind of geology for the rest of my life, what would it be?
Well, my issue I always have with my previous employment and my supervisors and stuff is that their modus operandi was always to compartmentalize. Like, you will be doing the layout, drill layout. You will be logging the core. You will be doing the interpretation. You will be doing the field work. You will be going underground doing chip samples. It's like everyone has their part in the machine. In my ideal world, you would have like one guy with like one or two drills, and that's easily manageable. The one guy does the layout, logs the core, and does the interpretations, and is part of the entire pipeline. Like, you are the pipeline. You become very intimately familiar with that your little section of the deposit. It's like, and you know it in and out, because when the workflow is compartmentalized, you lose what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
well, people become over specialized, don't they?
well, not just that. There is that you get the blinders. Like, you're only seeing a segment of the whole picture by being compartmentalized into your one task. So if you're doing like a layout and logging the core and doing the interpretation, you're getting the whole package.
True. And also I would imagine that if you're doing just one part of your profession for a very long time, then naturally your ability to do anything else is going to kind of be stunted.
This is true, and I'm just looking at a jambalaya pro tip: weasel yourself into a position of importance and become an integral part of your company's process so they can't jettison you. Funny story about that. so I was effectively, I did a lot. I was there for so long, I managed a lot of things and stuff, and it kind of got to the point, it's like, hey, Zenlar, you're falling behind on some what we're actually supposed to pay you for. Well, that's because no one's doing the fucking work. So what I did, here's how I sealed my fate for one of many reasons. I wrote down all my procedures for everything I did. And eventually the haircuts came, and then I got let go.
Yeah, because you basically made it so that anybody could do your job for you.
Pretty much.
I agree with you, I dislike that the corporate environment encourages people to act like assholes, because if you don't, you get screwed over.
Yeah, but to be fair, I was probably going to let go anyway because I was making a fuck ton of money for that position. Well, like, my position was effectively mid-level, but I was at mid-level for like over a decade, so I slowly got raises over that decade and stuff, so I was overpaid for what I was doing. Which was fine by me, but once the bean counters got to there, it's like, okay, well, this can't continue.
This guy needs to be upgraded. No, I can't do that. Oh, that's interesting.
Planetary bombardment: never underestimate a company's ability to jettison people they need. Well, yeah, and there's also the funny part about people retiring, because we talk about trades being crying out for bodies, but another thing, even like in the tech industry, no one knows COBOL anymore. And you know what runs on the programming language COBOL? All our nuclear weapons and power reactors.
Yeah, when I was briefly looking at coding, I was thinking to myself, maybe I should learn COBOL or something. But coding for me is a bit too far in the autism spectrum.
I agree.
Uh,
But I find it funny that there are archaic systems that are not going to be replaced. They will never be replaced.
No, absolutely not.
Which is kind of funny. Tie it back to Warhammer 40k. They are systems that are eternal and they're not going to go away. And you need your arcane rituals to keep them going. So, hey kids, if you're on programming, be the one guy who knows COBOL, and you will make bank.
Hell, maybe I'll look back into it at some point.
I remember looking up at the salaries for programmers who know COBOL and stuff, and it was stupid.
Let me see.
Oh yeah, banking too. Like banking, like investments, trades, like power, like literal like power stations and stuff. Like there's a lot of old systems. Like I remember when I first started this job here that brought me to Ontario and stuff. Our core logging program was like an MS-DOS program from like the 70s or 80s or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that that it's actually a good idea. I've always hated it when systems are upgraded just for the sake of upgrading, for a new fancy UI or something like that. I much prefer as simple a UI as possible, as simple a set of programming guidelines as possible, and as simple a functionality as possible. I don't like all this nonsense that's added on top of everything.
I do agree in principle, but going back to the example of the MS-DOS logging program, it was severely limited. So once we actually upgraded the system, it was amazing because we could actually export to like like a data, like export the database, edit the database, add new queries, and it was just getting a better toolbox effectively.
Yeah, but there's an awful... I remember watching a video on YouTube a couple of years ago. I'm sorry, my throat's not too good again tonight. 1 second. Pardon me. About how people in the tech industry today are so overly specialized that they don't get the implications of the kind of things that they're programming anymore. It was a video on bandwidth bloat, I believe, where websites were using all these fancy tricks that consumed enormous amounts of bandwidth. I remember being able to go on pretty much every site on a 24K modem and have it still load fairly fast, and even things like images and so on. You could get decent images on dial-up. You just had to know how to properly compress and properly stream things. But all of that knowledge is gone because everything is just like, no, we don't need to. Like, we can have modems and everything have tons of RAM. We can have computers with tons of RAM, with graphics cards that have a liquid cooling and nonsense like that. So we don't need to care about compression. We don't need to care about data compression. We don't need to care about ratios or anything like that. Just leave it to somebody else. We don't care.
We're looping on the efficiency question again.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's kind of funny how this concept pervades modern society as a whole, and all these different things. It comes down to the same thing. No one knows how to be efficient anymore because you don't have to be.
No, and it's the same thing even with farming, and local farming especially. I mean, it's just like, if you're ever in a disaster situation, one of the best fertilizers is literally your own urine. You don't need to go to a convenience store and or a gardening supply store and buy all this fancy fertilizer that was made in a chemical lab. No, just mix your own urine with 1 part of urine to 10 parts of water. You've got a fertilizer that'll double the yield of most crops.
Yep.
Nobody thinks about that any longer. We're in this bizarre situation where if there was ever a civilizational collapse, people will die in droves, and they will fight over the advanced remnants of society without ever realizing how much simpler things can actually be. Stop giggling. I know that it's literally. I've often joked that the reason I like the Mechanicus is because it feels like we've already gotten to the cult of the machine spirit in the modern day technology industry.
No, I'm just giggling at chat because
What's
they're
that?
right. We always come. I'm laughing at chat because we always come back to this conversation, which is piss.
Oh no, I can't get away from it. I can't get away from it. At least Short
Dude,
isn't
dude.
here.
Dude, you walk into this on your own volition.
To stop
Wait.
speedrunning becoming a pit. Shut up! Shut up!
I almost would increase in frequency, you might say.
There was a famous story where someone put an emoji in the name of their bank account and it crashed the entire system. Yeah, if you, Maniacal Foreigner, if you can find that story, please paste it in the Discord. I'm curious about that.
No, it's actually a true story. I remember reading about this way back when.
Yeah, sure, that's what I mean. I'd like to read it myself, because I think that I always find stuff like that fascinating. Has anyone here ever used Rinkworks? I think it's still up, actually. Like, that is a very old Web 1.0 website, but it had an entire section on called Computer Stupidities, which was just about the interactions between tech support and stupid computer users.
I remember that which you speak of.
It was a great website. I used to read it all the time.
Okay, now I'm getting conflated with you. It's like, no, Barrett, I am not Pizzilla 1984.
Proctor for Idle UK mail branch. Oh no, I am not going to be taking the Jewish gold. Sorry.
I, however, shalom.
I've seriously wondered if any company would even touch somebody like me.
Oh God, no.
No, probably not. But again, you see, like, I've read on the forum recently that there's signs that is it Altair or whatever from the Hollow EN branch, there's implications that he might quit because he was spotted with I can't remember any of their names because I never watched these guys. The only one that I can remember is Vesper.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, he's not the only one. A lot of, like, I know Ninja for a good while there was the case, but I've noticed a lot of corporate VTubers have actively reactivated their roommate accounts, and it's kind of just like it seems like almost everyone at one time has decided, I'm getting my life raft ready.
I was just reading the dialogue here. That was hilarious. Error, damn, not found. I really like this writing. This writing is excellent.
Well, the one thing about Mechanicus writing you can really do easily is the comically serious.
Yeah, I love that. I actually really enjoy comically serious characters. Like, the kind of humor in this game was written for somebody like me.
Yeah, like error, damn, not found. It's like, bravo, bravo. You are my spirit. You are my machine spirit, good sir.
Yeah, I have my new Mechanicus waifu.
Okay, Venus says Betel. Yeah, it was Betel IRL friends with Magni and Lando. / Lando.
I mean, these guys have also amassed pretty large audiences for themselves, and they're the kind of people that were basically just playing themselves via their avatar, so they can transition back to regular streaming or even just independent VTubing with most of their audience intact pretty quickly. And especially, I think that the problem with HoloLive is that it always has this issue with the idea of males collabing with females, and I can definitely understand anybody in Holostars EN being pretty damn annoyed about all that. And again, things like Vesper and Crony, those collabs were amazing. And yet they caused so many unicorns to self-destruct.
I forget the exact post, but this is a post I agree with. It kind of burns me, I can't remember. But effectively the point was, going corpo is a good career move because it will inflate your audience, and your audience, being what it is, will know your roommate account the instant you debut. So when you eventually leave, you're going to have a boost to your thing. So it's almost like a permanent stat buff to go corporal for a while, serve your time, and then like, all right, I've got my bonus now, peace.
Yeah, 100% agree. I see no way that you can argue with any of that.
No, it's just logical business sense at this point.
And
Which is funny that everyone's doing it all at once. That's what I find funny.
But what annoys me is that there's still this fetish in both the community and the management to be like, to act as if these are not, to cling to the kind of idle culture to it. I'm sorry, I have problems forming my my coherency when I'm also playing this game.
And it's also ass o'clock in the morning for you.
No, I've legitimately, I have woke up, I've had something like 12 hours of sleep, because the thing is, I had my I'm on my last few doses of my antibiotics for my diaphragm infection, and the trouble is they really mess up my stomach. So I went to bed, I woke up at around 6 or so, and I was like, nah, my stomach really hurts, I cannot be asked to get out of bed, I'm just gonna keep sleeping. I basically sleep through all the negative side effects of these things. Can I go here? Wait, is that? No, we're good. So I'm perfectly wide awake right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that happens. Right.
As you're just as you're finagling your troops, I'm suddenly engrossed with the combat now. I don't know why.
I mean, the combat in this game is pretty good. I really do like that it's that all weapons are just automatically hit. There's none of the nonsense. You have 5% chance to hit. Oh, actually, it's 95% chance, or the opposite way around.
My friend played the XCOM series to death, and he tried to get me into it and stuff, and I just hated. It was the logical thing that kind of broke my mind. You know, like my unit would literally be right up in their face and be like, miss, 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 miss. You missed all your shots. I'm like, bullshit.
I much prefer this kind of turn-based strategy where it's just like, yeah, there's some nonsense going on, but you don't have to worry about it. Does this guy give me a cognition point? Or I'll just whack this this thing.
Maniacal foreigner. It depends on the contract whether or not there's a non-compete clause. There can always be a non-compete clause, but like NDAs, they're not eternal. They do run out.
No, true. And I hate the idea of non-compete clauses, to be honest.
Oh, they are jewelry of the highest order.
Why should I bring in a Skitari? It's only 2 people. I'm not going to bring in a Skitari. Let's bring in a Servitor. Just whack it and that should kill it. Yep, nice.
I think you should use Ninja Sanji like a cheap whore. Yeah, but then you have the actual whore in the room that's V Hosho.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange to me. The V Hosho, in terms of their management, has seemed to actually take a much better... I mean, people would not be joining them unless they were giving them good opportunities.
I would honestly say that all jokes aside, V Shoujo has taken a turn for the better the instant Keisan got in. I know we joke about Keisan all the time and stuff for all her little quirks and all that stuff. That being said, she's still a powerhouse of the VTuber industry, and it does show.
I agree. I only wish Keisan the best, but she is a strange little Asian woman.
Worse, she's a half-breed.
Oh yeah, what's her other half? Oh no.
Is she from... I forget if she's from Georgia? I know she's from the South.
Good grief.
Yeah, she's Hafu, and she's from her white side is from the South.
That makes sense to me. Yep, that was a really bad move, Mr. Deathwatch guy. Now back cognition point and immediately destroy you. Goodbye.
This is kind of bugging me now, but then again, I've never really been too enamored with the roommate stuff. Like I don't get uppity about roommate stuff, but I just don't care.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same. People were angry at me last stream that I didn't know what NIFCO was. And people were saying, "No, that's like the main VTuber docs site," and I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me. I do not obsess over what my favorite VTuber watches or looks like, because guess what? I watch them because they have an avatar, not because I'm interested in what they look like in real life.
Okay, Haka, back me up. She is from Georgia. She's from Atlanta.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was somewhere in the South, vaguely.
Yeah.
Nice.
Actually, going back to our efficiency loop that we always come across, Coco slash Kason was literally the perfect example of the concept. In her restrictions of working under Hololive, she was damn creative as Coco. She was fucking creative.
100%. She was much better, I'd say, than she is as Kason in most ways.
Yeah, and the instant she had unlimited potential and stuff, it was kind of just like, eh. She had nothing to rebel against, and then they created it. It's not completely dead, but like, you know, like the magic was gone.
I agree. It's pretty tragic, but I mean, again, I don't think she's bad. It's just that, as you say, you need something to rebel against.
Yeah, there's no more powerful force in the universe than spite.
100%. Oh dear, our presence has been detected. Well, I've literally been attacking Necrons for like 3 turns now, so... Yeah, go and whack this thing. Hopefully something good happens.
Yeah, Hacky. I'm pretty sure she's from Georgia, because her English has a tinge of a Georgian accent.
I'm terrible with accents, honestly. That's one of my parts of my autism. I'm very bad with figuring out what people's accents are.
I am a savant for figuring out people's accents, but the thing is, I like doing silly voices, but I can't do accents for the life of me.
Ow. I have to go past these scarabs, unfortunately.
You know, like I can tell an Australian accent from a mile away, and it's like, wow, you're the first person to realize I'm not British. Yes, because you're Australian. It's like, how can you tell? I couldn't tell you. I just know.
Pardon me.
And like, I hate English accents with a passion, because you can go down a city block and have another accent.
I quite like Australian accents. They're a bit more mellow than English accents, I find.
Well, Australian accent is kind of like Appalachian English, in that it's a more archaic form of UK English because of the isolation.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like this kind of... The cohort kneels before the mural, defying the alien work with libations of thrice-blessed machine oil and the utterance of binary devotion codes. Though the process takes a long time, it leaves the cohort heartened and renewed in their faith. Where's the actual... This is quite a big tomb, actually. I don't want to be here too long.
Heck, a savant for figuring out accents. You had to pressure me into revealing my nationality. You hack fraud. Here's the thing. I like. One of my little hobbies is fucking around with people, as you probably figure out from any time I appear on this stream. So getting people to admit things is kind of a little game for me.
I think awareness is the best course of action here.
Bored. The difference between Australian and British accents is the amount of teeth they're missing.
Well, it depends what part of England you're from. Oh, nice. Oh, great. We're really blowing Blackstone here.
It also depends how many drinks you've had after the last football game.
Yeah, it's like I really like Sarah Nagera's accent. Her accent is really nice. I think it's a shame that a lot of the Prism girls don't seem to be getting a massive amount of traction, but a lot of them are really nice streamers.
Yeah, actually, funny little VTuber accent story and stuff. Like, oh fuck, what's her name? Bunny Girlfriend?
Yeah, I vaguely know who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. So she killed her accent for the character at the start and stuff, but eventually she said fuck it and started using her southern accent before she went full flesh tuber ethot. But for a time there, it was kind of cute having a southern bunny VTuber. I was like, that's cute.
Yeah, no, I mean, Pippa's been the same. As I constantly get yelled at for saying this, but I kind of preferred the more high-pitched voice she had to begin with, because I thought it matched the character that she was wearing better. Whereas with the deeper voice accent, it just doesn't quite sound right coming from Pippa from that avatar.
I agree in the concept of it matching the character. However, I am of the opinion that streaming is a marathon, and if you're going to do a voice that's going to fuck you over in the long run, I say just go with your normal voice if you're going to be a streamer.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Like, for example, my thorn was always like Kiara. I hated her. I hate her character voice, but for a good while there, she dropped the character voice because she was sick, and it was like, you sound fine, but then she got better and went back to her character voice. And I'm like, ah, fuck, you almost had me.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Her voice is much better when it's natural.
Yep. Like, my Oshi's Korone, and a couple of times when she drops the Korone voice, I'm like, oh god, please, can you just do this until the end of time, please?
Oh, these things. How on earth am I supposed to kill all those turrets? I'm very annoyed they didn't bring area of effect weapons on this mission.
Heck, again, if only Pippa could speak English. English is hard, man.
I agree, and language equals thought, and to be honest.
Well, that was literally the entirety of George Orwell's bibliography. And George Carlin's, now that I think about it.
Yeah, it depresses me that there's so many cases of people who are obviously fairly intelligent, but who lack the capacity to express themselves in a way that makes sense. It was something, there was a study done, I remember this was one of the most striking pieces of evidence for me that literacy is so critical to the human condition, is that when deaf people began to be treated in institutions, it was first thought that deaf people should be forced to learn how to speak. They should be informed how to enunciate words and communicate verbally despite their deafness, because that would allow them to integrate better into society. And it was found that these people were much stupider than people expected them to be, and so for a while deafness was considered equal to mental retardation. But then it was
the phrasing was deaf and dumb.
Yeah,
that was the original. Yeah.
Whereas in reality, it turned out that by not teaching these deaf people sign language, they were actually depriving them of a mental voice, because deaf people talk in sign language inside their heads. And when you lack the capacity to conceptualize the world in using a form of language, then your intelligence doesn't matter, because you lack the capacity to actually express it in any way.
Well, yeah, they were coming from the wrong thing, because they were trying to bring them up. They were trying to get them to interface with a system that, it was like two conflicting systems that have a difficulty integrating stuff. So they were trying to get like the minority up to the majority, but that just didn't work, obviously. Because I have actually met several deaf people who are able to talk, but it's a struggle for them. It'd just be easier to just sign language.
No, I can understand that completely. I get both these things. Nope. Oh, that's annoying.
Of course, actually, I remember talking with someone. Apparently, sign language is actually legitimately now becoming a dying language because of TTS.
Yeah, I can understand that, and that's a bit depressing, really.
Yeah, because the technology now is that they can input and the device will speak for them, and the device has microphones to pick up other speech and convert it to text. So, it's like, what's even the point now?
But it strikes me that would be a lot slower than just using because text to speech needs time to process and everything, and your brain needs time to process it, whereas with sign language it's much more natural and intuitive.
Oh, I do agree and stuff, but it's just kind of weird to see the transition.
Okay, that's annoying.
maniacal foreigner. It's one of those classic questions. What are blind people's dreams like? Yeah.
I would love to know that. That's a perfectly legit question. Wait, I can move here. Okay. Okay, that Overwatch thing is very weird. I want to get rid of this Necron warrior because he's going to reanimate otherwise.
I just had a bit of a mental conniption of you referring to Overwatch by its proper term and not the game term. I know it is technically here the game term Overwatch, but Overwatch is actually military concept, which is kind of what my brain was kind of just rationalizing.
How many things are close by that could shoot us? 1, 2. Oh dear. We seem to be okay. Can this servitor, should I do servitor or Skitari? I think I'll do Skitari and try and engage this Deathwatch guy. That one and that one can both shoot, so it's actually not a good idea to put that there. I'll put him there. Or there, that works.
Oh, I know Overwatch is a term also used in XCOM. It's used in XCOM and all these kind of games and stuff because it's actually it's a military strategy. That's why it's used.
That's basically a more proactive form of like target suppression, isn't it?
Yes.
And great, that was... I can't actually shoot this guy without him shooting me first. It's very irritating.
I know, my mental condition is the fact that there's a game called Overwatch, and that's kind of just like,
And this guy can do literally nothing, which is annoying. This game is starting to get a bit hard, actually. He's going to phase in. He's going to phase in quite close. Oh, that's actually better than I thought it would be.
Venus. And yet, in current year, Overwatch is arguably less gay than Overwatch.
Yeah, Overwatch kind of suicided itself, didn't it? Is Overwatch even really still a thing, or has it just completely died off?
Overwatch 2 died a quick death.
Yep, it doesn't surprise me, as it deserved, to be honest.
Pippa, I remember when it came out at the time, and Pippa tried it out, and she was just like, more of the same, less options, and then it's just like, meh. Like I have no feelings towards Overwatch because I was out of Blizzard before Overwatch even came out, so I had no skin in the game whatsoever. But I still kind of feel bad for the people who, I hate to say this, actually grew up with it.
Yeah, it's depressing how bad things went. And again, it's like, how much of this is the result of legitimate incompetency, or rather management interference, and how much of it is a result of the fact the games industry is just not where you want to be if you want to be successful in any real capacity these days?
Well, you have to remember, at the end of the day, the Overwatch franchise was an abortion of a franchise because it was originally supposed to be a completely different IP before we got the first-person shooter thing that came out.
What should I...
Because Overwatch is a good example of new Blizzard, because old Blizzard would have killed it. Even with like years of development, they would have killed it because they knew it wouldn't end up being a good game. But with new Blizzard, they've said like, nah, screw it. We put all this resources into it. Just push it out.
Yes, it's frustrating to me how this kind of stuff seems to just keep happening over and over. There's no respect for consumers. It's like somebody yesterday was talking about, people were talking about Titanfall in the comments, in the chat, and some of them were like, I can't believe how disgraceful it is the way that the companies have acted towards these franchises and how they keep screwing over their consumers. And my reaction was just very simple, like, they still get paid, they're still profitable. Why would they care?
Well, yeah, like I've used this example. I used this example before. It's the CEO problem. The CEO only has like a 4 to 6 year time frame, and all he cares about is increasing the share price. He doesn't care about the longevity of the product, whatever that may be.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes, well, it doesn't make perfect sense, but it makes tragic sense. Put it that way.
Well, yeah, it makes sense that the system incentivizes short-term gains and not long-term stability.
No. Where is that Deathwatch guard? I'm kind of contemplating taking the hit. I have no idea what damage he does though. Just to get a shot off, and I think I'll just shoot these guys, honestly.
He's going to one-shot you just to piss you off.
Probably. But again, this game is a lot less RNG heavy than various kinds of a game that I've had to endure before, so I'm okay with it. So we got scarabs. Sorry.
I'm getting entertainment from Discord chat. Apparently Dazzle and Rie are having a go at it.
Oh no, what are they talking about now?
They're calling each other a spurg.
There's a phrase from British politics I think is apt here. It was two pigs calling each other swine.
I'm going to have to remember that one. That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, I like British politics as a spectator sport because it's a lot more I won't say civil, no, it's uncivil, but people are a lot more creative of what they call each other.
Yeah, like I've had a variation of this conversation before repeatedly in the past.
What?
In that I can dress you down without resorting to curse words. It's just I'm lazy and I will refer to curse words, but if I'm really angry, you're getting the entire vocabulary without a single utterance of the word fuck.
Yeah, it's sophistication. You have to, because if you're just relying on curse words, you're just displaying how unsophisticated you are.
Well, yeah, like I remember one time we had this bullshit artist at work and stuff, and he was a real con guy. But one of my supervisors, he saw right through it and stuff. And the con artist in question came up from underground, and he was like, "It's like, oh man, I brought this rock from underground to identify it." And then my supervisor, without missing a beat, was like, "Don't worry, a real geologist will look at it."
I really like that. That's very good. I hope that guy got at least one beer bought for him after that.
Oh yeah, for sure. But the sad thing was the con artist eventually got fired, but he bullshitted his way onto a board of directors of a rival company.
Of course.
Don't ask me how that worked out. Because current artists.
Yeah, is the company still in business?
Probably not, but I saw that he was on the board of a couple other ones. I'm sure they folded too.
Come on, crit. No, don't crit. Well, at least I still destroyed it.
Venus, or to put in TVA terms, Ninja accelerate bad, hollow long-term health good. But then you have the meme of the cruise ship in the background and the guy on a waveboard with an umbrella. And I should probably make a Photoshop of that there of like Sakana, and it's like whatever Sakana's doing.
Yeah, Sakana is an interesting guy. I respect him a decent amount.
I make fun of him, but he realized the superpower strat of hire people who are smarter than you to do the work.
Absolutely. Everybody should be aware of that strat. One hit. Oh, nice. Nice. Actually gaining ground here. Get this Servitor out. Actually, he's going to immediately die to Or... No, I think we'll be okay.
Super duper in chat. Socken, I love. He's a very decent dude. Of course, he's your boss and cuts the checks.
After this mission, I'll go back to looking at chat for a minute. I'm just a bit focused on this, because this is not a particularly easy mission.
That's what I'm here for you to focus on the game, and to me to wrangle chat.
I know. I really don't mind who is online, just as long as they're interesting. Should I shoot him or shoot that? Oh wait, I'm an idiot. That Necromori is right there. How did I miss that? That was clever of me.
Bored. I would love to have a Socken interview. We've already had like 3 or 4 Socken interviews at this point.
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy. I still find it absolutely hilarious when Irie was interviewing him. He's like deadpan the entire time, even when other talents are yelling at him. And yet the moment Irie criticizes his cooking, you could his voice actually kind of breaks for a second. You can hear it.
Oh no, I remember hearing that crack. It's just like, what about my food? He was hurt emotionally. Emotional damage.
Oh wait, I can get a cognition point for this guy, then I can hit him. I find this combat very satisfying once you learn how to properly budget cognition points and so on. At first I was like, this is really annoying, but now that I know it, it's very satisfying. The people who made this game have a lot of experience with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're probably a bunch of XCOM nerds.
Probably, and they took the right lessons from XCOM, especially about getting rid of the stupid percentile-based system.
Yup.
Wait. You know what? I'm just gonna do this. Nice.
Venus again with the banger of Sakana is propelled onwards by autistic winds, the coffee currents, and Pippa punching way above her weight.
Hmm. With this guy across here, then this Necron can't fire without... Oh, can I whack him already? Nice. Good. Kill it. Yes! Oh, that's so satisfying. How on earth do I defeat all these turrets? Do these turrets even do anything?
You shall defeat them with the will of the Messiah, which is bash it repeatedly until it's either dead or it works for you.
Yep. I find it funny because in Caiaphas Cain there's an excerpt from like tech priests arguing over how the Tau managed to get all their battle suits and stuff working, and there's a bunch of tech priests that are convinced that if they can just get their hands on a Tau battle suit, then they can convince it to turn against they can convince its machine spirit to turn against their masters.
Well, it's funny whenever the Mechanicus try to reverse engineer quote-unquote orc tech.
Yeah. It works because it works. Don't question it.
Which is kind of funny because, you know, going back to the original comment of humans are just weak pink orcs, in that hypothetically the Mechanicus probably could get orc tech to work. I mean, shit, fuck, what's old Bailey got that, you know, claw to work.
Hmm.
And he was just a commissar.
Yeah,
well,
like
to be fair, also to be fair, he's powered by the belief of the orcs. So,
yeah, 40k is a great setting for that kind of thing because I really enjoy hard science fiction overall. I'm not the kind of person who enjoys soft sci-fi, but 40k is my major exception because it does actually justify an awful lot of the magical bullshit that goes on. And it provides it with a consistent framework, and I especially enjoy it that they make it very clear that you defy these rules massively at your own peril.
I have always been of the opinion for narrative storytelling in that you may put all your effort into making your toolbox, selecting the tools for your toolbox. Once you have it set up, you cannot put in or take out any of those tools. That's what you have to work with.
I don't disagree at all.
And the beauty of 40K is that it's set up its toolbox damn near perfectly.
Indeed, it's a great setting, and the more I look into it and the more I understand about it, the more I respect it as a setting. Which is funny, considering you know how one note a lot of the older stuff was. Like, it's the older Warhammer 40K stuff is hilarious of how kind of grim derp and silly that it often gets.
Yeah, but I don't want to say the 40K found its way by taking itself seriously, but at the end of the day is kind of what happened. If you know what I mean.
Well, there's a people always say you should take yourself, that things like this take themselves seriously. To what degree? It's kind of an absolute thing. You're either taking yourself seriously or not. Why does it have to be a binary option? Why can't it just be, I can be serious at this point, but then I can transition into something a bit more silly later on? And that's why I like the Caiaphas Cain stuff, because the great stuff about Caiaphas Cain is the fact the Commissar is in genuine real danger. Characters die, horrible things happen, and yet it's the focus on this one commissar who would much rather be anywhere else, and yet always manages to pull a Uno reverse card on his enemies anyway that makes it funny.
I would recommend to you, Alpha Busa made a Caiaphas Cain, like if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device guy. There's an episode short of Caiaphas Cain, and it's fucking hilarious. I recommend you just look up TTS Caiaphas Cain, and you'll piss yourself laughing.
Okay, I think I will definitely do that.
Yeah, it's a short like 10-minute one, so you can crush it out easily. Yeah, it's so fucking funny, and it's so in point with the Caiaphas Cain like tone and lore, and also the TTS verse.
I think Caiaphas Cain would probably fit in very well with the TTS stuff.
He does. It's perfect. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Caiaphas Cain, hero of the Imperium. I'm not kidding. He has a song.
I know. And again, that's another thing that I used to be quite a massive fan of Starship Troopers. And I think Starship Troopers and 40K have the same kind of satirical bent to them, actually.
The relationship between Starship Troopers and 40K is fucking hilarious, because effectively at the end of the day, Warhammer 40K is a ripoff of Dune and Starship Troopers. That is the original books. But the Apollo Verhoeven movie of Starship Troopers is so funny because, like, you know the story behind the Starship Troopers movie, right?
I do, somewhat. Okay,
so pretty much Paul, like the director, he hated Starship Troopers. He hated authority. He's like a hardcore lefty.
Yeah.
And he did what we notice nowadays and stuff, which is the horseshoe thing, where you pretty much loop all the way back and stuff. And he wanted to make a movie that mocks like military conservatives and all that stuff, but it looped all the way back to being awesome again.
Yeah, precisely. But at the same time, I think Verhoeven understood that in many ways, because
I find that hard to believe, but go ahead.
Well, there's little things. For example, one of the noteworthy things about it is that the scene just after the invasion of Clendathu, when there's a great big scoreboard in the background, or not a scoreboard, but like a memorial wall or whatever, where it lists out casualties, and on the news it says, oh, there was something like 10,000 casualties in 1 hour. And on the background, you can see very clearly, well, actually not very clearly, but it's there in the background for you to see on repeat watchings. No, they're lying by a factor of 10. It was actually something like 100,000 casualties.
Yeah, so another thing I was going to say about the movie and stuff, it's kind of funny because the Starship Troopers movie kind of almost went 40K scale feel kind of thing.
Well, they literally had, because the original novel is a much different tech scale. The troopers have like giant mechs and powered armor and
I know that, yeah.
In fact, I think that Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers is one of the first, if not the first, sci-fi novel to actually have powered armor in any real capacity.
Verhoeven's the director. The author is Heinlein.
Yeah,
I have to correct
I'm
that
very
there.
sorry. Like their names are both suitably foreign that I forget which one is which.
I
Again,
know.
I'm an imperialist.
I know. I just had to say it before someone yelled it out. But yeah, like I love the Starship Troopers movies because they're cheese and I like them and stuff. But actually, I like the. Okay, I have to tangent a bit. It's like the '98 Roland Emmerich Godzilla movie. I hate it because they call it Godzilla, but the animated series that came after it, I fucking loved. And the Starship Troopers movies, I like them anyway and stuff. But the CG animated series, the Starship Troopers, the Roughneck Chronicles, that's an amazing fucking series.
That's how I was first exposed to it, because my local DVD shop had the entire Roughneck series on DVD that I could just rent.
I know, and I love that there because it was more towards the original Heinlein like tone and stuff, but it had the aesthetics and the overall feel of the Verhoeven movies.
I know, and it was surprisingly, I mean, it was still for kids, but that thing could get surprisingly graphic at times too.
Oh, I know, and even like the subject matter, like I'll say it outright, the Colonel's my favorite character.
And the funny thing is that, yeah, despite the fact that it's a those things do quite a bit of damage actually. Pardon me. That despite the fact that it was much more for children, the animated series is a lot more true to the origin of the franchise than anything else, because it says that, you know, this is basically a fascist dictatorship where if a soldier has psych issues, they destroy his mind and reprogram him into a new trooper. They don't care about getting him psychological help.
Yep. And I got a shout out with pouring in chat. I do have to agree. The Starship Troopers anime OVA is actually the most true adaptation of Starship Troopers we're probably ever going to get.
I have not actually watched that. Maybe I should.
It's temper your expectations. The budget's not the greatest and stuff, but it actually is really on point for the tone of the books.
Okay, I will definitely keep that in mind, because I knew there was an anime of it, or an anime kind of thing of it, but no real details about it.
It's really good. I recommend watching it. And fuck, I'm trying to remember. Give me a second. I gotta look it up. There's an anime series that effectively is another version of Starship Troopers that's actually really good. But fuck, something blue.
Blue Gender.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, I love Blue Gender.
I'm
there's
about
a really
halfway through Blue Gender. I've not, again, because of my intense ADHD, I've not been able to fully focus on it for a while. But I'm about, I'm almost exactly halfway through, and I really need to get back to that show sometime. Because yeah, it's pretty damn good.
I just love it for how fucking brutal it is.
It is pretty brutal. I agree.
I would argue that Blue Gender is a better Terraform Mars.
I've heard of that show. Apparently it had a really terrible second season, which always depresses me.
Yeah, I tried getting into the manga. I have really bad pacing issues with manga, but I tried giving the anime a shot, but then I saw the original broadcast that was heavily edited to hell and back, and I was like, nope, not gonna bother.
I find anime like that. Sorry, I desperately need to blow my nose, so I will just mute myself for a second.
Yep, chat knows that we were talking. I was thinking of Blue Gender too.
There we go.
What's with the good takes today? It's like, okay, like I can't be a filthy leaf, and Proctor can't be a filthy bong all the time.
Yeah, we do have. I mean, I'm just gonna ruin the reputation I've just established by saying that I still think that Gundam Seed is one of the best Gundam shows ever made.
I wouldn't go that far, but I will still go to bat for it.
That was one of my the things is that I used to get into a lot of hot water. Well, not hot water, but I used to go to Gundam discords, and I could have very long conversations with idiots who were just like, "Nah, Jesus, your motto, beam spam, nonsense whatsoever." And I would act because I was a filthy pirate. I had all of the stuff on just downloaded on my hard drive, and I would do stuff like I would individually analyze frames of animation to disprove people's points about the show, and I took a perverse glee in that for an awful long time many years ago. I got bored when I realized that it doesn't matter how many times you disprove some of the nonsense that people say about these shows, they're just always going to go back to talking about it anyway.
Yeah,
that was when I was a teenager, when I was much more obsessed with that kind of nonsense than I am now. Now I'm just like, nah, my opinion is right, deal with it.
I don't even know I had the energy back then to get all uppity about things, because like I was a nerd during like, you know, the 90s and stuff, and like it's like, oh, you like Lord of the Rings and Star Trek and Star Wars, and like actually I watch them just because it's the thing to do as a quote unquote nerd, but I don't really care about any of them, honestly.
Nice, I'm getting paid for this mission. Go on, sorry.
I'm like, unlike modern quote unquote nerds, I don't make it in my entire identity.
Yeah, people get. Well, I mean, the insane thing is that what I hate about the Gundam fan base at the moment is that it's been pretty heavily infiltrated by the gender special idiots, and especially like the Witch from Mercury. Oh my goodness, that show annoyed me tremendously.
I've heard nothing about bad things about that there, but I did chuckle at the squish.
The squish.
Her slapping the pilot that was on the ground with her hand.
Oh, that thing. Yes, yeah.
I chuckled when that memed.
It was kind of memey, and it was annoying because it could have been a great moment, but it just wasn't quite.
Well, I actually did watch that scene in its entirety, and it does go for the character, go towards showing the character of she's fucked in the head.
Yeah, but it doesn't commit to it. Like Witch from Mercury, I was all in. I was genuinely all in on Witch from Mercury until about episode 14 or so, because I felt that it was being written by somebody who understood that they were walking a fine line between parody and seriousness, because the start of the show is really kind of a parody of high school anime, and it does the thing where it's like, oh, it's a high school setting with giant mechs, there's a tournament style thing, and you think for yourself for a little while, nah, this is going to be dreadful, this is going to be awful. But then on episode 4 it actually gets much more actual Gundam style, and violent things happen, and then a main character gets killed off, and you think, no, this show has actually got some teeth. And then it goes back to the high school nonsense, and you think to yourself, no, this is terrible, this is awful, why'd they do this? But then it turns out to be a decent setup to something that happens afterwards that resets the table really effectively. And I was like, yeah, this is great. I can't wait for the finale where they do this thing again. And then the finale is horrifyingly generic and boring in every way and makes no sense.
Well, you know what Gundam does the high school thing good?
Which one? Wing?
Nope. Coming back to our original thing, Gundam Seed.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I like Seed, because it feels like the tragic thing is that it's animated by a really notorious studio, and so everybody looks the same, and it's off-putting, and I don't like it. But
I know, but I one of the reasons why I'll go back to bat for Seed is I actually do like the writing.
I agree. I think the writing is pretty solid overall. And it feels... Seed, I thought, was very good at conveying the slow descent into madness that a war on that scale could push people to. Like with the original MSG, by the time MSG starts, half the population of the entire solar system is already dead. Like the colony, there's been the colony drops and all this, and like Seeds, like MSG starts with the insanity racked up to 11, and so it's taken for granted the entire show, whereas Seed starts with a pretty conventional normal war and escalates into the level of both sides being perfectly willing to genocide each other. But it's handled in a very effective way, where there are sane groups on both sides at the start of the war, but as things ramp up, they get pushed further and further to the sides until both sides are run by people that are totally morally bankrupt and willing to do anything to exterminate the other side.
Yeah, because one of
Pardon me.
I'm gonna get crucified in chat for this here. I've never been particularly enamored with the Universal Century timeline and stuff. It's really dependent on the series and the writer and stuff. Like the overall plot of the Federation versus Xeon stuff. It really fucking depends.
I agree. I think MSG was great. I didn't like Zeta at all because it was so melodramatic. I liked ZZ because it just felt like the original show, the original show's tone with a higher budget. It got a bit silly at times, but then again, it pulled itself back and it found a healthy medium. Tomino, when he's writing as a depressive, I don't like at all. He's just too depressive and everything is miserable and nihilistic. Everybody dies and it's horrible and awful, and it comes across as Tomino stamping on the floor and saying, I feel miserable, so everybody else should feel miserable. How dare you be optimistic? How dare you? I don't like that. I much prefer it when he's kind of wacky, autistic comedy Tomino.
Well, they call him Kill 'Em All Tomino for a reason.
Yeah, exactly, and Zeta seemed, again, a lot of the deaths in Zeta come across as a perfectly sane and rational person suddenly deciding, oh, I need to die now, and then doing something very stupid.
That guy, got a Gundam question for both of you. What's your opinion of the 8th MS team? You mean the best Gundam series ever?
Yeah, 8th MS team is very good. Very, very good. Nothing negative really to say about it.
It's straight up my favorite. I'll just say that.
I do think that the one problem that I have with it is that it has... I don't really like how the main character turns into this mega pacifist, oh no, war is terrible and awful at the end. I understand what they were going for, but I don't think they portrayed it in the best way possible. But again, it's a minor thing. I don't really have many complaints about it at all.
I would argue the way they could have fixed that there is to maybe slap him around a bit more like he started kind of like not too new but not too world weary. He started out just like basic soldier and stuff, but he really needed a bit more slapping around and saying war is hell, a bit more of that there before to go full like Gundam pacifist kind of thing.
I agree, it felt a little bit rushed, but everything else was great.
Well, to be fair, it's an OVA, so
Another UC Gundam thing that I was really disappointed by was Stardust Memory. Because it does this weird thing right at the end where it changes all the characters' motivations and it introduces whole new silly things that I genuinely disliked. It was great up to the point where they went into space, but after they went into space, it went bad, sorry.
I'm really struggling to remember the plot of that. It's been a while.
Well, it's the one where Gato steals the is it the Physalis, the GPO-2 with a nuclear warhead that's being used by the Xeon remnants to attack the fleet review, and yeah, go on, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, no, I remember now. Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, I'm just focusing on the story for a second. I like that mission. That was a pretty complicated mission. I should get paid a decent amount of bank for this.
Poor, and all I remember from Stardust Memory it looked pretty. The late 90s Gundam like movies and OVAs were fucking gorgeous.
They were.
It was like the end of the era. It was like the craft of like cell animation was just like like. I don't want to say redline good because that there's its own case, but it was good.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of 90s OVAs and they've all been really, really good, and other similar stuff. Let me just actually open my anime folder for a second and see what other mecha stuff from that era, because I've got a ton of stuff. Come on,
If
open
we're on a
yourself.
mecha tangent, I've already said that Pat Labor is my favorite.
Pat Labor is really good. I haven't watched a huge amount of Pat Labor, but I definitely agree with you that it's definitely one of the all-time greats.
My one problem with Pat Labor is I like the movies more than the series and OVAs, and the problem with the movies is that they're not really about Pat Labor.
I agree. I remember streaming I think Pat Labor 2, where it's like a giant Cold War allegory, and I thought it was great, but it did get a bit kind of convoluted and hard to watch at times.
Pat Labor 2 is my favorite of the Pat Labor anythings and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's not a Pat Labor movie.
I agree.
It's a political thriller. It's Tom Clancy the anime.
Stardust Memory is, and suddenly for no reason, the Titans were elected into power and the tiny hats kvetched.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. That Mecha series on YouTube obsolete. I've heard of that, but I haven't watched it. I did not know it was on YouTube.
Pat Labor movie 2's coup scene is fucking Kino. Fuck. The coup scene in Pat Labor 2 hit hard after 9/11, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, again, it would be the kind of movie that I'd recommend to people who don't believe that anime can be serious or have interesting geopolitical commentary.
No, if you like, there's a handful of anime movies you can have like a master class of like, look, here's how you do a film, not even animation. Here's how you do film.
I'm trying to scroll down through my massive list and see if I can find what I want to talk about. Have you ever watched Valvrave the Liberator?
I think I have, but I have no memory of it.
That's a
No,
shame.
I'm not kidding. I watched a lot of shit growing up and over the years.
This was a fairly recent one, actually. It wasn't in the 90s, but it was. I consider it one of the better shows in recent years, mostly because it's a giant shitpost. I should stream it sometime. It's a fantastic show if you have the right mindset.
Well, what kind of mindset would I have going into it? Elevator pitch it to me.
We'll put it this way. It was started that all the marketing material made it look as if it was going to be a Seed ripoff, down to the coloring of the main mecha looking exactly like the Strike Gundam. But in the first episode, they have the thing transform into a completely different look. And practically for the very first series show or episode rather, you realize no, this is going in a completely different direction. And from it's the genesis anime for things like Code Geass as well. It has a similar tone to Code Geass actually.
Okay, I tried giving Code Geass a chance, but I just couldn't get into it.
It was. I think the Code Geass was pretty good, but it had its problems. But Valvrave has a very satirical style to it. That it's one of those shows, a bit like Starship Troopers, actually, where you can tell there are two warring ideas. There's the people that want to play it completely straight, and the people that want to go, nah, this shit be crazy, bro. Let's just take it to the max. And the latter people end up winning decisively.
Ooh, that guy, Appleseed. Appleseed's really good.
Yeah, I agree. Appleseed is pretty good.
And going back, Vision of Escaflowne. I have a love-hate relationship with Vision of Escaflowne.
I have not watched it for context.
It's really pretty, and I want to like it, but I can't put my finger on it. I just don't like it. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like I have a really strong gut feeling for things. It's like either immediately I'll like it or I hate it, but I won't immediately logically understand why I like it or hate it until well after the fact.
I have a similar feeling towards Gunbuster. Because a lot of people say, oh, Gunbuster is one of the greatest mecha anime ever made, and I'm just like, I mean, it's okay. I don't mind it. I can see why you'd like it, but I think it has a lot of strange issues to it.
I acknowledge Gunbuster in that it is how do I put this politely? It's kind of like Evangelion. It's one of those cornerstones where it's like, okay, this is like an important historical point.
Hmm.
It served a purpose, kind of thing.
Yeah, precisely. There's a lot of cargo culting in the anime community, I found, where they're like, this old thing is great because it's old. And you need to respect it because it's, say, the first work of a director who went on to make Evangelion. And my attitude is, okay, but I hold everything as its own thing. I don't buy into the lore or the hype or the legend.
Well, I've said this before. Like, I don't like Citizen Kane and I don't like Brazil, but I understand why the fuck they're studied the hell and back. I acknowledge them as good films. I just don't like them.
I think Brazil is best. You have to have a certain cultural mindset to appreciate Brazil, and it's very much. Well, Brazil is basically like a satire of the British government in whenever it came out, I forget. And my parents lived through that era, and they would have great respect for something like Brazil because it captured the feeling of being at the mercy of this labyrinthine government bureaucracy that was completely and totally hopeless and moribund in every way. And at the time of this complete stagnation in the economy and this just broken culture that had no way of recovering. So, go on.
We should probably pivot away from movies because apparently the bad takes are back. But I agree.
I do very much appreciate works that are created with a specific cultural mindset in mind, which is again why Pat Labor 2, the movie, is so good, because it captures perfectly that sense of helplessness that the Japanese culture was going through during that period of time when they felt like they were pawns of the great powers during the Cold War. They had no military of their own, really, and they were just pieces to be moved around a board by America and Russia.
And there's also the cultural point of the the crash, the Japanese crash.
Yeah,
like people in the West don't realize that Japan lost well over a decade just from their economic boom and bust.
Yes, Japan is a fascinating culture. If you want recent anime, mecha anime that I thought was great, look up 86. I have never heard of that, so I think I definitely will.
I've been actually going back and watching old stuff because honestly, like I'll like watch like one or two series of the current season, and that's about it.
Have you ever watched Megazone 23?
Way a long time ago.
Yeah, I watched Megazone 23 fairly recently, and I thought it was extremely good.
Yeah, again, it's one of those cornerstone ones. It's kind of a lot of media and like just like not even genres, like just like mediums kind of have like the cornerstones. It's like, okay, like like going back, like I'm a nerd, so I'm gonna read Lord of the Rings, watch Star Trek, and watch Star Wars. And for anime and stuff, like okay, I like mecha, so I'm gonna watch Battle Labor Gundam, like Giant Robo and all, like all the major hallmarks, just to have like the better understanding, because like okay, these are touted as like the be all end all, so need to understand what they're all about.
Have you ever watched much Getter Robo?
I am not the biggest fan of the Super Robo stuff.
It's funny because I am also more of a real robot aficionado myself, but I really enjoy Getter Robo because one of the problems that I have, a lot of people in my teenage years or early 20s were insisting that I watch, how do you pronounce it, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
I could not stand that.
I couldn't stand it either. I absolutely despise TGGL. I hate it. I cannot understand why people like it. I cannot understand why anybody enjoys that kind of nonsense. And one of the principal reasons that I hated it was not actually even... give me a second. This is going to be a tiny bit of a tangent. I used to enjoy... I've said before, I used to enjoy role-playing an awful lot. And one of the things that I did several of was Super Robot Wars role-plays, where literally you just play as... what I like to do is... like, I'd write up an alternative setting for a mecha show, and I'd say you can play as the canonical mecha, but you play as original characters. And every single time I tried to run a Super Robot Wars roleplay, some of which went on for like 2 years, some of them were really successful, but there was always at least 2 or 3 people who would argue with me the entire time it was running. Oh, we really want to play Spiral Power. We really want to play the TGTL mechs. And I was like, no, you were talking about a show where the Spiral Power is a limitless force which can throw around whole dimensions of reality. That where halfway through the show, the main character has a mecha which is the size of the observable universe. Are you actually insane? And they were saying, oh no, Spiral Power is really balanced, you see. Spiral Power has lots of limitations and nonsense. And I would say, okay, let's just look at this show and see what they do during it. And they're like, no, totally. You have to read this obscure like manga adaptation or whatever. And I'm like, no, I don't care. Stop asking me. I'm sorry. That was a bit passionate of me.
Now, here's my be-all, end-all when it comes to the super robot genre. It's good for kids.
Well,
no,
don't
seriously,
watch Get a Robot,
I would...
don't watch Get a Robot Armageddon as a child. That'll scar you.
You know what I mean. The over-the-top thing like Gurren Lagann, like the over-tops like shonen stuff, I would fucking love as a kid and a young teenager. I would fucking have loved that shit at the time and stuff. But when that came out, I was like in university, so I was just like, I just don't care for this shit. I just really don't. It's not my thing.
I agree. I like some Super Robot stuff. I like the Super Robot stuff that is a bit more grounded, and surprisingly enough, Get a Robo in its more later iterations is quite good at that, because the original anime is very much for children, but the original manga is really violent and dark. Pretty much all the Get a Robo manga is very, very violent and very serious. I mean, it's stupid, but it's stupid serious.
Well, I do have an appreciation for Get a Robo, because honestly, the first anime I actually ever watched was the 80s Astro Boy. That was my first anime ever.
Oh, that's definitely vintage.
That is vintage, and it was good for the time too, because
how old are
you? I'm pushing 40. That's all you're getting out of me.
Okay.
but the 80s Astro Boy was good because, like, I know a lot of people never watched it and stuff, and they only watched like the 2000s version of stuff. But like the 80s one was pretty hardcore for its time, because it covered, the ever-present topic of the nature of humanity.
Yeah, which is what I like it when mecha shows explore.
Yeah, and that was great as a kid. Like, it covered like kind of heavy stuff, but I still got it. Like, actually, honestly, the more I think about it, the older I get, my favorite anime movie of all time has to be Robot Carnival.
I've never watched that, I'm sorry.
It is a animated anthology musical. It's commonly referred to as anime's Fantasia.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting.
It is a gorgeous film, amazing soundtrack, and it's worth a watch. The comparison to Disney's Fantasia, it's not made lightly, and it is very apt.
Okay, well, I'll definitely look at it.
Yeah, and I honestly probably watch it like maybe once or twice a year, because it's just comfy nostalgia for me at this point.
Yeah. Saint White, I'm currently going between running a Lancer RPG, playing a metric ton of Titanfall 2, and trying to work out what I'll do for a Halo RPG for some people. I have been writing I ran Super Robot Wars roleplays for quite a while, but I kind of outgrew the community that I was part of, because most of them were just... They were a fair bit... By the time it ended, I was like, these people are a fair bit younger than me, and absolutely anything else besides our interest in media, I have no connection with any of them. So I'm gonna just leave this group before they start ranting to me about how they're all trans and how they hate Trump. And looking back on what I know about that community from now, yeah, I was dead right in how all of that went. But since then, I've actually been working on a new series, a new setting. 4 new versions of that I might run ever. I probably never will, but like I bet the actual setting history document is something like 8,000 words by now, and it's still not complete. And I occasionally, just as for recreation, go and write more stuff about it every so often. So maybe one day that'll see the light of day. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, you are missing out. Only memories match in how. If you haven't seen it, you are missing out. Only memories match it in regards to anime anthologies. Oh, that was a confusing sentence there, but I think I get what you mean. A Die Guard would be something you'd like then. I've watched Die Guard. Die Guard is very good.
Yeah, I know what Pori means when he refers to it as comparing it to memories.
Okay, yeah. Die Guard is really good. Again, Die Guard is another one of those super robot shows that I think hits the right mark, but the right division between realism and super robot nonsense, because it's. Have you ever watched it, Godzilla?
What was that?
Die Guard.
I think I started but didn't finish.
Okay, that's a shame. It's fairly low budget. It's not particularly impressive visually, but I do like the tone of it, in that it's basically just, yeah, the aliens invaded once, and a company built a giant robot to fight them off, and then they vanished, and now it's just run by a bunch of salarymen, and the company is deeply in debt. And
oh god, I remember now. Yeah. Actually, here's another robot series from memory lane. Did you ever watch Bokurou no Hours?
I have not, sorry.
Okay, so the premise, how do I describe it without totally ruining too much? Okay, so pretty much these kids find this giant robot. They pilot it thinking it's all cool and shit, and they save the day, and then the guy who's currently piloting it dies.
Okay.
Long story short, the multiverse has gotten pretty bloated, and they're thinning the herd for universes. And you want to guess how they're selecting the universes?
Oh no, a tournament arc?
Effectively, but it's never arranged as a tournament. Effectively, it's just fight after fight. You win, and your universe survives. Otherwise, it goes poof. But it's referring it to kind of like a giant robot tournament series, kind of sounding short because it's fucking dark.
Okay, well, I'd imagine so.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay, you should send the actual name to me in Discord, because I'm not able to parse the Japanese just by being told it out loud.
Yeah.
Also, Brain Powered. I've started Brain Powered. I started Brain Powered not too long ago, and again, it's pretty classic Tomino insanity, which I do appreciate. But I have to be in a certain mindset to enjoy Tomino's more crazy works. I see a lot of people trying to analyze Tomino's earlier works and being like, oh no, this character is supposed to be like a representation of this, and I'm like, no, this is a very autistic man with very poor social skills and very little understanding of how normal people actually think. Stop trying to overanalyze it.
Well, the problem with Tomino, he suffers the literal same problem as Anno.
What do you mean exactly?
He's a fucking depressive fuck.
Yeah. And obviously a very auteur mind. You can tell, because the thing I like about Tomino's works is you never know what's going to happen next, because people act. All his characters are autistic. They all have that kind of low impulse control, weirdly exaggerated reaction to events, and you can never tell whether it's going to go comically serious or seriously comedic. It's a real trip. You never know what to expect.
Well, I have beef with Tomino and Nano because they are manic depressive, in that they're up and down, up and down, up and down.
And they write like that.
But if the auteurs I'll go to bat for would be either, funny enough to say, I'll go to bat for Kojima and like Tarantino level auteurs.
I think Tarantino's works are pretty good.
No, I like them. I like them, but like the thing is, like, they're creative people who have an idea and fuck you what you think about them.
I can
And I
respect that
kind
a
of
lot.
and that is exactly what I respect, especially for Tarantino. It's just like, no, I'm gonna make a movie the way I want. Fuck you.
I feel like the modern era has really misinterpreted all of that, because now you have a whole ton of new writers who have taken on the kind of auteur angle of things, but who do not have the skill or the chops to actually execute anything, or they're very ideologically captured and feel like, oh no, auteur means defying conventions and making all the characters black lesbians. This is no, that's the most mainstream thing you could possibly do at the moment. What are you talking about?
This is true. And that guy says, fuck Evangelion and Anno. He does not know when to stop messing with his shitty coming of age story, and this is true.
I will actually defend Tomino a little bit on this, because I really feel as if it's more calculated than that. I actually prefer the rebuilds to the original series, because the rebuilds feel... You can't watch the rebuilds without having first watched the original series, otherwise it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I really respected the nonsense that he pulled off in the last Evangelion film. Go on, sorry.
No, finish your thought.
Yeah, but it was... I'm not even sure how to conceptualize it, really, but I almost feel that very much that Anna was speaking to his fan base and saying that you've obsessed over this for decades and decades and decades, and I have not been able to get away from any one of you, so yeah, here's your stupid esoteric happy ending that I'm blatantly ripping off from Gen Orobuchi's works, and now shut up and leave me alone.
No, but he didn't have to do the rebuild series. He already had that would end.
Only bad thing he's done is the rebuilds of Evangelion, especially the last one. No, I completely disagree. I think the last Evangelion movie was actually pretty damn good. Again, you can't understand it unless you view it as almost a satire directed towards the fans. And yeah, it was still
no, I know what he's going for with it. Doesn't mean I have to like it. No, I'll pause it to you in chat. You want good Evangelion? There's a name for it. It's called Blue Seed. That's good Evangelion. It doesn't even have to have giant robots, but it's literally the same goddamn plot.
I actually enjoyed the third and fourth rebuilds, but I connected it to the lore from something else, and it made a lot more sense. Yeah, the thing, like, the last Evangelion film has characters literally saying that this is part of a cycle that has happened hundreds and hundreds of times, and you can tell they're referencing things like fan theories and similar events within the fandom, and how people constantly reinterpret and reanalyze and overanalyze all the original series. And I feel that was the writing of a man who was just absolutely tired of all his fans and was like, you know what, screw you, we're editing the entire universe so it doesn't exist any longer, and then we're hooking up Shinji with the hot girl with the glasses that you all hated. Screw you. Which is great, because Mari is best girl.
All I'm hearing is the plot of the Madoka movies.
Yeah, this is it. Is that he said, Anno has gone on record specifically, and I love this, because when the rebuilds were coming out, there was one guy in one of the Discords that I was part of who was a massive Evangelion fan, a rabid Evangelion fan. He hated Madoka Magica. He thought he would go so far as to actively lie about how popular Madoka Magica was in Japan to make it sound like it was a worse show than it actually was. Madoka Magica was my first serious anime show. I love Madoka Magica, and
I love it too.
Yeah, it's a shame because I didn't really have any contact with him when the end of the rebuild films came out, but oh, I would have loved to rub it in his face that Anno came out afterwards and said, yeah, I was inspired by the ending of the movie Rebellion, and I based the ending of the rebuilds off that. I cannot imagine how much seethe that guy went through when he read that. I would love to have been a fly on the wall.
No, like, I respect Anno for... No, like, it's like the Tarantino thing. Like, that's one of the reasons why I do respect Anno in that regards. Of like, nah, fuck you. Fuck you all. Fuck this, and fuck your couch. I'm out. And going back to something Napoleon said, Anno is a better live action director. Though I wish he would personally animate more. That he is an amazing animator. I do agree with this, and I'll tie this to one of my personal things. Anno directed Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, I've watched Shin Godzilla. That was a very good movie.
Yeah, and it wore a lot of the Evangelion references on the sleeve, which I was okay with because Shin Godzilla was a fun movie. I liked it.
I have never I have never watched a Gravion, so I can't really comment on it, I'm afraid.
I did not like Ravion. I did not like it.
Was it another Super Robot show? I think it is.
It's over top super robot and a lot of titties.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not really interested in that. I'm not really interested in anime fan service. Honestly, I find it too distracting.
It serves a purpose, but it has to be kind of its own thing.
I agree. And this is the thing, is that when you watch older shows, again, the limitations were allowed people to really flourish. I think one of my have you ever watched Magic Knight Rayearth?
I try getting into that, and wasn't really my thing.
Yeah, I understand that it's not really your thing, but I will always hold up, I think it's Clamp. Yeah, Clamp made that. I will always hold up Clamp as the undisputed champions of attractive female character design in anime.
I've never liked Clamp with the exception of X.
Okay.
And that every male on the planet who knows of Clamp will say that. I don't like Clamp, except...
Yeah, but I do like their ability to actually make women attractive as more than just objects, which is what I really hate about modern anime, is that there's no such thing as a character design that's not in some way like, yeah, we're gonna make a naked statue of her later on.
I don't know. When it comes to like Magic Knight Rayearth, when it comes to the I don't want to come off as condescending and say like the girl power anime stuff, but one of my favorite animes, which is girl power anime, is Bubblegum Crisis.
I've only heard of that, sadly. I've not watched it personally.
The 80s, 90s OVA are fucking amazing, and the late 90s, 2000s, I forget when it came out, like the 2040 Bubblegum Crisis version, it's pretty damn good. But I just like it because it's kind of a Blade Runner ripoff, let's just be honest. It's Blade. It is Blade Runner with the power armor. That's pretty much what it comes down to. But it's
honestly,
good.
that sounds pretty good. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different OVAs. Just look up Bubblegum Crisis and just look at the list. And of that list, I just recommend the original OVA and the 2040 version.
Yeah, one anime that I desperately need to finish off is and I've completely lost where it is on my list. Where the hell is it? I can't. And the name has gone into my head. That's very clever of me. I hate this. Whenever I have a good train of thought going, I'll do something like forget the name of it. I know where I can find it.
Yeah, I'm just bouncing between the chats and my anime list searching.
Outlaw Star. Outlaw Star. I wanted to call it Lucky Star. No, Lucky Star is a very different anime. Outlaw Star.
Lucky Star is also very good, but it's for its own reason beyond the current trend of this conversation. But Outlaw Star was fucking amazing.
I agree. Outlaw Star is pretty damn good.
Like even the Cartoon Network Toonami cut. Silk. Like I hated all their edits and stuff, but say what you want, the properties they got were more often than not bangers.
I agree. Yeah, Outlaw Star is another. It's funny, again, because I'm a hard sci-fi connoisseur, I find it difficult to get into stuff with sci-fi with magic and stuff like that, but Outlaw Star really manages to capture a kind of feeling that I genuinely really love about sci-fi as well. And it's just really damn good. There's not much more to say about it. It's not enormously deep, it's not enormously complex, but it has a kind of bombastic energy to it that I greatly appreciate, and it gives me very fond memories of, because I watched it afterwards, even though Outlaw Star is much older. It reminds me very much of Firefly. Like, Outlaw Star is a bit like anime Firefly, and I massively respect that.
Yeah, Oh God, since you put it that way, yeah, I can't see it. I can't see that now.
I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, it's always kind of one of those things. It's like this, but you can say that for a lot of things, but then you kind of think about it, and it's like, oh God.
I wonder what the world would be like if Firefly had actually gotten a decent run.
You mean in broadcast order?
Yeah, in well, again, my family never had TV because there was no signal. We live in an area where there's no mobile signal, there's no TV signal, etc. at all until a few years ago. So I got everything on DVD.
Ah, lucky. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, before I started watching anime, I was massively into sci-fi on, Western sci-fi, especially stuff like Star Trek, a bit of Star Wars, but I was more a Trek fan for a while. But I think the best sci-fi that I ever watched as from that era was Babylon 5.
I never could get into Babylon 5. I really did try, but I just couldn't.
Oh, that's a shame. I mean, the first season is not all that brilliant, but as it gets into its actual plot and story, I think it still holds up extremely well to this day.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, I did watch a few of the episodes and stuff. Is maybe because it was because when I watched it, it was during like the initial broadcast, and I was younger and stuff, and like I barely tolerated Star Trek at the time, and it's just like it was kind of more like, oh, just standing around talking, political, wax philosophical claptrap. I just wasn't in like the right mind space for it at the time.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a show that I've only grown to appreciate even more as time goes by because of that, because it was my transition between, oh, it's funny, pretty flashy lights on screen, to actually they're talking about things that have relevance and are interesting to think about afterwards.
Yep.
Cross-Ange, I think that's how you pronounce it, Cross-Ange. I had a look at Cross-Ange. I hate Cross-Ange. I hate Cross-Ange so much that when I think it was Super Robot Wars X that had Cross-Ange in it, I basically stopped playing Super Robot Wars X the moment I realized Cross-Ange was in it.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Yeah, Cross-Ange is pain. Cross-Ange is like Valvrave the Liberator, but with all the good parts of Valvrave the Liberator surgically excised. And it's not even pretending any longer. It's not even pretending to be a serious... Because again, I like Valvrave because there's two warring sides within it. There's one side that wants to be a serious show, and another side that is just like, this is insane and we should buy into that. But it's able to properly balance the two sides in a way that's really entertaining. But Cross-Ange is just like, yeah, I'm not serious. I'm completely ridiculous. Any pretensions that I make towards being a serious show are very obviously going to be horribly subverted in really stupid and predictable ways in future. And I was not disappointed in any way by Cross-Ange. I went into it thinking I would hate it, and I knew, and yeah, I was completely accurate.
I just remembered something from the recesses of my memory. Did you ever watch Vandred?
I have heard of Vandred. I might even have it downloaded somewhere, but I don't think I have actually watched it, no.
I almost want to classify it as a guilty pleasure because it's not terribly great of a series, but I like it. I like it for what it does.
Okay.
The elevator pitch is that okay, the initial thing is that there's literally a planet of women and a planet of men. They're at war.
Oh, I have
They don't
heard
know
of
why.
this, yes.
They're at war. They've always been at war, and that's always been a thing. But then two crews come together, and through bullshit
The power of
circumstance,
friendship.
they have to work together and stuff, and then the bigger plot unravels and stuff. But it's kind of like the journey of these characters learning to get along, and then realizing why those two planets were the way they were in the grander scheme of things, and coming across other planets with little quirks and stuff in the bigger plot. It's really interesting.
And the whole...
And plus there's
Sorry?
giant mechs, to fight too. So
Yeah,
funsies there.
I should definitely look that up at some point. I'm okay with that. I find myself wanting to watch Star Trek a lot more these days, and my one friend keeps wanting me to watch Babylon 5, but I have such a long reading and watch list too. Yeah, I'm the same. That's the trouble. With the ADHD, I have so much that I could be doing. I constantly just sit there thinking, if I start doing this, I could be doing that instead, so I'll end up doing nothing. It's a really awkward thing that I have to deal with.
I don't know. As far as TV sci-fi goes, I always kind of just like, fuck y'all. I'm just gonna sit over here with my Farscape.
I've not watched Farscape, unfortunately.
It's a goodie, but it's again, it's like everyone has their favorite thing. So there's only so many ways I can say to pitch it, kind of thing.
I agree. All this stuff is kind of stuff that I'd like to watch at some point in my life. It's just that at the moment, again, I'm an adult now. I don't have infinite free time anymore, tragically.
Yeah.
Oh, I still have this downloaded. Amazing. It's kind of funny that my introduction to serious, well, not serious anime, but shall we say anime aimed towards adults was 2 shows. The first one was Madoka Magica. The second one was High School of the Dead.
I love. Okay, I've been a lifelong zombie freak just because of George Romero and stuff, and High School of the Dead will always be one of my favorite zombie things, and I am always going to be pissed that the author died.
He died? Damn, I did not know that.
Now, yeah, the series got the Berserk treatment before the Berserk got the Berserk treatment in that the author died.
Oh, that's really that's a damn shame, because I knew the series ended, but I didn't know it was because the author died.
No, that's pretty much, he up and croaked, and that's why it ended.
That's a real shame. Yeah, High School of the Dead was very definitely a guilty pleasure.
But it was so fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah, you're looking at your folder. I just opened up my spreadsheet of all my media.
Oh no, that's fatal.
And I'm going to try to limit it to our general theme of mecha. I'm going to try to keep it in that wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Because we'd be here all day.
Have you ever watched have you ever watched Made in Abyss?
I watched the first season of it and stuff. Okay, here's a funny thing. Like my best bud, like my anime bud, he showed me and he was just like, just watch it. And I was like, I was not interested in for the first bit, and then they actually went underground. And the instant they met Nanashi and everything went off the rails, and I was like, okay, now I'm interested. But then eventually I started reading up in the manga and stuff and the story, and it's like, oh, this is where it's gonna go. Nope.
Yeah, it's a kind of show that I hate how much I love it. And it is.
That's probably a very good way of putting it.
I know. I want to know how this story goes. It's disturbing to me because the amazing thing about Made in Abyss is that it does something that a whole lot, because after I watched Madoka Magica inspired an awful lot of copies, and I was young and I didn't know my own tastes really, and I watched a few similar anime like it that came out afterwards, and I very quickly realized that a whole bunch of people were chasing the feeling of Madoka Magica without ever getting what made Madoka Magica actually good. And Made in Abyss is one of the only shows that I feel that has actually captured how Madoka Magica made me feel, because Madoka Magica is a dark show where there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of pain, and there's a lot of misery, but it still manages to maintain this underlying sense of optimism and positivity. And Made in Abyss is the same, is that except to an even more extreme degree. Made in Abyss is brutal. It is one of the most visceral shows I've ever watched, and yet somehow after all the death, all the gore, all the trauma, all the misery, people are still smiling and happy at the end of it, and they still find reasons to why their lives are worth living and why they want to continue their mission. And I'm just like, I'm here for that. I want to see as much of that as possible.
Well, the thing is with Madoka Magica, it is a deconstruction of the magical girl genre, but you have to have an understanding of the genre that you're deconstructing for it to work. Like, for example, I forget the name of the series, but there was a copycat series that came out not too long after Madoka. I can't remember the name of the life of it for me, but pretty much it opens up with the girl. Her cat dies. She's getting bullied. She gets beaten by her brother and raped by some stranger. And this is just the first episode. And it's like, no, you don't do that for your dark magical girl thing. You have to earn that.
Yeah, precisely, and that's the thing about Madoka Magica is that the characters are put through an awful lot of stuff, but they still cling to their optimism in the end. And that's the entire point of it, is that in the end, good does triumph over evil and finds a new status quo that is more positive than the old one, but it also recognizes that it's not just a happy ending, everybody was delightful, there had to be sacrifices made, but those sacrifices were meaningful. Magical Girl Raising Project, that was one of the things that I watched after Madoka Magica. I didn't like it at all. No, I think it was Magical Girl Saitan or something that has the incredibly ridiculous traumatizing things happening to the protagonist. You have to... Let's not quite go that far.
I don't know. No, I'm just looking at the comments for there. It does no, honestly, it does come down to that. You have to earn the rape.
I'm glad you read that and not me.
No, okay. The trope and the eternal conflict of rape as drama. It is an argument as old as time, but it is a narrative device that has been used and will continue to be used, and it does work, but you have to use it right.
I agree. It is a disturbing thing, but I think I credit an awful lot of my tolerance for things like that from my upbringing, because my parents liked to read me classical stories quite a lot when I was growing up, and because I was mostly home educated, but for my primary education I did go to Irish high school, and Irish high school in the 90s, they loved to make people read really dark stories from the Irish potato famine and so on. And I vividly remember one of the class reading projects when I was no more than maybe 8 or 9 years old, and it was a story about a family that moves to Ireland and moves into an old cottage that was used by people during the potato famine, and this strange black mold starts growing everywhere, and they start hearing voices at night, and they start dreaming about emaciated skeletal figures crawling through the dirt and eating like foul weeds and rotting potatoes just to try and stay alive. And it was an illustrated book too. There were pictures of this, and that gave me nightmares for years.
That was reality, son.
I know, that really messed me up for a long time. I would not sleep with the light off for a long time after reading that book.
I'm sure you must have been right peaches right after watching Threads.
I don't think I've watched Threads, actually.
I'm sorry, what the fuck?
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember what it was.
Threads is a post-apocalyptic.
Oh yeah, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I have watched Threads. Yeah, that was pretty.
That's one of the most brutal films of all time. But I will toot one horn. It's not nearly as depressing as Testament.
That one I have not watched. I'm sorry.
Okay, Testament is a post-nuclear apocalypse movie and stuff, but the thing is, it's not the immediate distraction, it's the literal fallout and things. And let me just say, do not watch that movie with your mother.
Okay, all right, I won't.
Well, the main character is a mother, and she has a lot of kids, and I shouldn't have to say what happens. I shouldn't have to say what happens to the kids throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I agree. That kind of I have watched. I think it's called The Day After as well.
That one's a little more Hollywood compared to Threads.
A bit more
Testament.
Hollywood.
It's still good. Don't get me wrong. The Day After is a good movie, but I would rate Threads and Testament higher as far as, quote unquote good.
I agree. And though exposure to that kind of thing I like serious stories, and I quite like dark stories too, but I dislike stories that feel as if they are designed to crush your optimism and hope in humanity. And that's the
Agreed.
Yeah, again, that's the bizarre thing about Made in Abyss, because it is actually an optimistic and hopeful tale, even under all the horrifying things that happen. And the strange thing about it is that it can make you look at objectively horrific things that happen and horrific people and go, I can understand why that guy did the thing that he did, and why he still thinks that it was a good idea to do. It was like there's have you ever watched The Expanse, by the way?
No, it's on my to-do list. I hear it's okay.
Yeah, it's quite good. I enjoy The Expanse, but there's a specific scene in The Expanse where there's a scientist who goes on a really long rant to the main characters who have broken into his lab about what he's doing, about the extremely nasty biological experiments that he's been conducting are actually for the good of humanity, and how it's going to unlock a whole new level of human potential, and how it's justified for him using basically the dregs of society to experiment on, because he can't think of it, because this technology is so far beyond anything they've dealt with before that there is nothing they can do except let it loose in a population and see what happens and hope they learn from it. And at the end of this scene, another character shoots him, and everybody else says, "Why did you shoot him?" And he says, "Because he was starting to make sense and I was starting to believe him."
The guy you really hate makes a really good point.
Yeah, exactly. And Made in Abyss is really good at doing that as well. It's like a series-long example of this, I feel.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, When the Wind Blows is also a really good post-apocalypse film. Again, I've heard of that, but I have not seen it.
It's a relatively short film. It's a short animated film based on a book, and I would almost say it's Testament levels. Like okay, Threads is bleak. It is in your face bleak, but like Testament and Where the Wind Blows, it's kind of soul crushing.
Yeah. I don't particularly like those kind of movies.
I kind of do, but the thing is, like Testament and Where the Wind Blows kind of earns it, because you have your setup of like life the way it was, and then the event, and then the decline. And they're played very straight.
I'm just trying to look up something. There we go. Why on earth do we still keep having? I can't believe it. We've stuck to a fair like 12 to 10 concurrent viewers this entire time. It's actually gone up.
We're surrounded by weebs, and we're talking about weeb shit for the most part.
Yeah, I agree. We're actually coming up on the 3-hour mark. I just realized now that I've been crossing my legs for quite some time, so I'm probably going to end stream in just a few minutes and I also need something to eat too. I'm very hungry now.
Okie dokie.
I should really do a watch party at some point on Discord or whatever and stream some of the stuff, because I've got a ton of stuff on my hard drive. Claymore. Oh, you just posted Claymore in the Discord. I have not watched Claymore, but a lot of people tell me that it's quite good, so I will definitely look into it at some point.
It's like I said in the chat thing. It is Dragon Ball. Literal Dragon Ball, but good. It's like how I said the Blue Seed is like Evangelion, but good. That's Claymore for Dragon Ball.
Oh, pardon me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I hate that. But yeah, I don't like DBZ at all, because it's another show that I can't take it seriously. And it's so strange how an awful lot of weebs do take it seriously, but I'm like, no, how can you take this seriously? The guy who... Akira Toriyama has no idea what stakes are. I'm sorry.
He really doesn't. But then again, here's the thing. Akira Toriyama, Dragon Ball is his original baby and stuff, but the thing is, he always comes back to it because now it's a paycheck. That's all it is right now.
Yeah, I can understand that. Again, I feel that was a lot of why Anno made Evangelion, or the rebuilds rather.
Yeah.
But in fairness to him, he made something out of it. He didn't just do a soulless, this is the original series, but it's just animated with a much higher budget now. He actually made something out of it, and I respect him immensely for that.
Yeah, I just got finished going.
Sorry, go on.
I just got finished going through my spreadsheet and stuff, and it would just be tangents of other anime. But the only other relevant mecha anime was would be the Big O, which I'm sure you probably saw.
I have not seen it, but I have heard of it. Again, that's another thing on my.
Okay, I'll post a link, and we can end stream.
Yeah, I think another one of my favorites is definitely Space Battleship Yamato, which actually gets mixed in the second season.
Nice.
Is there anything else before I go? Let me just have a quick look. Code Geass, now I already talked about that. I think for now we've covered pretty much everything, and I'm getting a little bit too distracted by my biological needs to go on another tangent. Oyotaro is the one who helms Dragon Ball Super. I see.
Yeah, okay. So same time next time.
No, not to, hopefully, because I genuinely am trying to get my sleep schedule this week back into some semblance of productivity. Because I
know you said that. I'm just taking the piss.
I know, but I mean, with me again, and I can't believe that people are actually watching this. It just goes to show how much of my community comes from places that is not America.
Yeah, the world's smaller than you think.
Yeah. Actually, that's got Discord where everybody is from. Nothing wrong with a dark anime with a happy ending. Yeah, I agree. But yep, I really appreciate everybody coming to this live stream. I genuinely expected me to be on 2 CCV and mostly being quiet for the entire time, but it's been a pretty great time overall. Beherit, I hope you die in a fire along with all your loved ones. But with that, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you very much. Good night.
Peace.